Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? So now it looks like I'm online. Let's see. Oh, okay, good. So let's see. Witchy Jim says legalizing pot here in Colorado has created nothing but a mess. Really interesting. The cost of living has doubled. The population has doubled. It's caused nothing but traffic congestion with too many people living here. Wow. Everybody moved to Colorado just because they legalized pot? Wow, that's amazing. Hey, Misty Dawn, how's it going? Hey, Witchy Jim. So, well, that's interesting. Why would so many people move to Colorado just to get pot? That's bizarre. Anyway, hey, Rays, how's it going, Rays? All right. Let's see. So I had a friend of mine, Nachi Free. He's been on my channel before. I was going to. I never heard back from him, but I invited him to the stream. But I don't think he's going to show up because, like I said, I didn't hear back from him. So let me see. Yep, first 6 months, almost 200 people, 200,000. God, I can't say those. 200,000 people moved there. Wow. Huh. Okay. Well, we'll see what we'll have to see what happens here in California with the legalization of pot. I don't think that we're going to have a bunch of people moving here, but you never know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me see. Where I live is complete hell. I can't even open the window to breathe without feeling sick. Yeah, that's a problem. I agree with you, Nicholas, there. That is a problem. I agree with you because sometimes I walk down the street and I just get a big whiff of it. And it's just, I don't want to smell that. I mean, I'm all for the legalization of it, but yeah, I agree with you. The smell is something else. They got to figure that out, because I mean, if you drink beer, you're not like walking down the street spraying people with beer, but when you're smoking pot, yeah, other people could smell it and it sticks to their clothes. And yeah, I agree with you. There's got to be something they can do about that. Everyone can move back to California. Laughing out loud. Yeah, I'm sure they all came from California. Let me see. Hey, Misty Dawn. So let me see. I'll put the link in here. Let me see if I can get it. Well, yeah. I know I had problems before with it. Let me see. Let me copy it. Because I think what it is it's not copying it completely. So, all right, let me do this. And now paste it in here. So I'll paste the link in the chat. See if that works. If anybody wants to join, they're welcome to. And I'll keep an eye on the chat here. Let's see what else is going. Hello, sweet Jim. Okay, not talking to me. Yeah, I've done security on the dispensaries in Denver. They do smell. Yes. Why is that, Nicholas? Yes. Oh, just kidding about the California lake. Hey, Big Daddy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they all came from. You never know where they come from. I don't even know how many people would actually pack up and move just to get, well, maybe some would. Maybe some would move to just for legalized pot. Video call error with the link. What is going on? Yeah, no problem, Witchy Jim. That is bizarre. I don't know what's going on with these links. I used to be able to just post it and people could come on. So bizarre. Try it again. Try that link. See if that one works. So bizarre. I wonder why it does that. There was times I moved there. Hey, Pixie Doo, how's it going? Hey, Junkie. I'd have to email for. Yeah, I probably will have to email people. Hey, David, how's it going? Yeah, still doesn't work. That's frustrating, 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 frustrating. Well, I'll tell you what. If anybody wants to join, let me know. And what I'll do is I'll figure out a way to get you in here. I'll probably have to email you the link. So if you want to join, let me know, and I'll have to get your email, and you'll have to put the email in with spaces in between. So you'll have to write it like me space at space Comcast space.org or whatever. Grabbing a snack. All right, we'll let you grab a snack and wait. Let me see. How's it? One, hi there. Got the munchies. So yeah, okay. Still doesn't work. Shoot. I'll snatch a position for this. You'll snatch a position for this. I thought you said you were busy. Oh no, that was Jim who said he was busy. All right, Junkie. Let me see if I can. I'll email you the link. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna try. I know there's a way I can just shoot. All right, so I'm gonna email. I even emailed you the link, Junkie, and then I'll also try to invite you via Circles. Yep. Okay. I also sent you an invite via Google Circles. Only get 2 emails. Let me see. Just at work, but I don't consider it busy. Just sitting here with a loud generator in the background. It sounds like fun. Fun fact: humans have made glowing cats in an effort to fight AIDS. Really? That's interesting. How did that work out? How would that have worked out? Hey, how's it going, Junkie?
Hey, what's up?
So I don't know what's going on with these links. I don't know if other people are having the same problem. You have Hangouts, right?
I usually just do regular streams with OBS. That's what I use, and I have like Discord to like let me get into calls with different people.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, I got to ask around. I'd be interested to find out if this is a problem that a lot of people are experiencing, or if it's just like a few, like me.
Most of my friends who use Google Hangouts, they kind of dropped it because they were getting that same issue, so they just kind of went for OBS because it's easier and less of a hassle.
Well, how would it be?
However,
Hmm. I was just because
I know. Go
well,
ahead.
you gotta. But how do you invite people through OBS? Do you do it through Discord or Skype?
No, like, all right. Well, basically, what it does, that OBS will like, let me see if we can pull it up real quick.
Because I
I have
have
OBS on here.
OBS.
What it will do is that it will take, like, for example, if you're trying to record like both your mic but also your desktop audio, the desktop audio will be like the people that, like, say your voice right now on my screen will be the desktop audio, my mic will be my mic audio, and it will record that.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah. All the little details of OBS. Yeah, I know about that.
So
But what I'm saying is, how do you get people into it?
and to Discord, um you invite them to a call, basically, and it will record the audio that it gets from Discord and
Mhm.
record it there.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I used OBS before, but I did it with Skype.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing with Skype, except the Discord's a little bit more up to date because Skype, I heard, has been going through some really bad crap.
Yeah, Skype got bought up by Microsoft, and I updated my Skype, and I lost every single contact.
Yeah.
So I was very pissed off. I wrote them a strongly worded letter, and that was it. I just uninstalled it, and I said, you know what? screw it. I never really used Skype before, so I was like, you know what, the hell with it.
A majority of people just kind of jumped ship off of Skype and just went to Discord instead. It's much more user friendly and it's free and does not have like random ass ads, because I hated that on Skype.
Yeah,
so annoying.
Yeah. Now you have your own Discord server, right?
Yeah, I have mine set up. I've had it since about a few months ago because I deleted the old one so I can redo it and fix a few glaring bugs and glitches it had.
Mm-hmm.
It's better now, but it's still.
Go ahead.
What's up? Oh,
I said,
well, I was just pretty much saying that there's like different like categories for it now, because back then the old categories I added to it was like just tacked on. Now there's like actual reasons for these different categories, like ones for voice channels, ones for like say for bots, for user information for admins, ones for talking with admins and discussing, ones with art, ones with for chat rooms, like say for general chat, say if you want to just talk with random people, you want to promote your own stuff on here, you want to put your own photographs, you have your own like say random jokes or memes you find on there, or if you want to vent your frustrations that you have, or you can find and post your own music.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, about us, there's a welcome, rules, announcements, that sort of thing.
Okay. Now, but so when you decided, when you had a server, a Discord server, did it cost you money to do that, or is it free?
Oh, it's free.
Oh, okay, cool. So anybody can start a Discord server.
There is a payment, but it's mainly for like really upgraded features. Like say if you want to add like what's one? Trying to think of one example, because there is like a certain way to like if you want to like say transfer your emoticons that you create yourself to like other like servers or that you want to use, you could pay a monthly fee to use it. It's nothing really big. It's like a side thing. You don't need it. I never use it, at least.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll start a Discord so I can invite people via that way.
Yeah.
Because I like OBS. I mean, it's really cool, because especially when you're doing interviews, you can set up hotkeys so you can transition between different windows, so you can focus on yourself or just on them, or have you both in the window. I really enjoy that. But just like a casual hangout like this, I don't really want to start up OBS and invite people.
Yeah.
So, but this works out. Let's see. So I was hoping to have this friend of mine come on. I haven't heard from him yet, but I was on his channel a couple of days ago, and he's like a strong atheist.
Yeah.
And I'm an atheist, but I'm of the strain that I don't really care what people believe, as long as they are not like hurting themselves or other people. And I also understand there's people who have beliefs out there, and they, for whatever reason, they find they like having those beliefs, whatever benefit is. So that's my position. And, he just thinks that people who have beliefs are somehow, lesser. There's always sort of a certain level of superiority that people who don't have any beliefs, like atheistic beliefs, seem to kind of convey. And so, that's what we were going to talk about, but he didn't show up. But I still kind of want to talk about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so I'm hoping maybe people. So just if you're in the chat, I can't post the link. So if you want to come on, let me know, and I'll have to send you the link. But if anyone is welcome to join us and talk about this. So let me know in the chat, and I have a window open, so I'll keep my eye on it. So what do you think about that, Junkie? Do you have any beliefs, or what do you think about that?
I have some beliefs, like for example, I'm agnostic, which meaning that I don't really practice or do any like beliefs or practices in any other religion. But I feel like that there is some kind of God. I'll just have to wait and see what will happen with my life, and see if there actually is one. And if there is, then there is. If there's not, then there's not.
And so what kind of led you to this agnostic position?
Most other channels that I've received, like I've never seen, like that I've seen, like for one, I've watched back when I was like young. I watched what was it? Cult of Dusty back in the day. I watched Amazing Atheist, who I eventually just dropped because he was kind of a little crazy. Nothing against him. I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, but it's like some of his decisions were kind of knee jerk, in my opinion. Yeah, a lot of the other like religious based channels like kind of just made me think for a bit. And that's just how I sort of viewed it. I just sort of just like went down my own path and just did what I wanted to do.
Okay. And now is that something that pretty much happened when you started watching these other YouTubers, or was it something that kind of like was maybe in the back of your mind since?
It was also in the back of my mind, especially with some of my friends who were discussing it. Like I actually met some who were also agnostic or also atheist, who also like told me some really interesting stories about like how some of the inconsistencies within the Bible and blah blah blah. And I was like, that's pretty interesting actually. And it basically they taught me like don't always trust like your religion. Sometimes there might be something in there that might be a little risque or a little off.
Risque, yeah, really, especially with the Bible,
especially with the fucking snake handling priest. That was fucking insane.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I mean, what do you think? What do you think about like what is this link that you're showing?
Actually, I was gonna show this because like one of my fans watched the video and it's fan art for both of us.
Okay.
You're giving me walkies.
Let me see if I can open that. Oh, I need permission to access it.
Oh, you do? Damn it. Hold on. Let me see if I can just like. Let me see here. So all I need is your emails, and I have it on me. So it'll take me a moment. Just see what the chat's doing at the moment.
And then I'll show people the fan art.
Okay.
Let me see. Hey Matthew, how's it going? Have to buy a headset. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Misty Dawn, that'd be great. I'd love for you to get a headset so you can join us. Hey Nikki, hey Animus, how's it going?
Let's see here. Come on, copy, paste. I sent the shareable link with you, so you should be able to see it.
All right, I'll hit refresh. There we go. Oh, yeah. Now let me see if I can share this so people can see it.
You can probably share screens, like screen share up here.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, my friend Pon made this, and it was amazing. She's a young 16-year-old. When she saw this, she said, "Okay, I have to make a joke about this."
I like that. That's cute.
It is. Oh, Christ, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I just let me see. Okay, stop. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just still getting over this cold.
God, you've been having that for a while.
Now it's just sticking. Yeah, that's because I think it was like a flu. Like, you know, actually, what it was, Junkie. This is the weird part.
What?
I got sick right around the time that you contacted me. Then I actually got better. I got better for about maybe 4 or 5 days, and then it hit me again.
God.
And yeah, seriously. And then I was just like, it was the same thing. And so now I'm getting over this one. So I'm hoping that's it.
Maybe TVC is saying that maybe TVC is coming to say that you are turning into an abomination.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm gonna get mixed with some DNA, some spider DNA. So,
and become a man spider.
But one of the reasons why we have such strong strains of flu now is because we generate the cures for them, and then the strain becomes stronger. Then we have to create a stronger strain to combat it, and so it just goes back and forth, back and forth.
It just becomes a never-ending cycle. Phone, what do you want? Shut up.
But one of the things that hasn't been helping, especially with the breathing, is that they're doing a renovation upstairs, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been also doing some renovation in the front. So I've been hit with all kinds of chemicals and stuff floating around in the air, and so that has not helped. So that's probably why my immune system has been susceptible to getting the flu a second time. So
Christ.
yeah, and yeah, because they're renovating the entire apartment upstairs from me, and they're doing stuff right around me. So it's like, and I work from home, so it's not like I can go out for a while and come back.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
but
also
just like
got through.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I got through with talking with my editor yesterday, and I since I managed to set up a Patreon, I told her I was gonna be able to pay her by Monday because YouTube finally decided to send in my money because they were waiting too long. I found out that you actually have to manually set up like the threshold for yourself if you want to get paid, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
But I am paying her by Monday, and hopefully she'll be able to get some decent money because she's still in high school at the moment. The person I'm working with.
Well, that's nice that you can hire people
Yeah,
or pay
but
them.
it's really fascinating because I just randomly came across her in a comment, and she was just typing. She wasn't expecting me to comment, and I just ended up just sending her an email because I saw that she had her email listed on her YouTube channel. And I said, "Hey, you want to work with me? I mean, you don't have to." He's like, "All right, sure." And we just started just talking. And so I ended up just grabbing out my recording software and recording. And I have about at least 20 or so minutes of like footage. And I'm like, when I get this next video done, I'm going to upload that as like some quick little fun footage.
Nice. And do you have another video coming out pretty soon?
It's basically a video where like it advertises like other people that are trying to get their name out there, but like they're struggling. So like I do this every 10K I gain. I'll do a top 5 underrated channels list where it's like basically what they do is that they do either rants or commentaries, and the majority I've seen so far that has sparked up in the on YouTube is commentary channels, and a lot of them are really really good with very impressive like stuff. Like I found this one dude by the name of Doll Smick who does commentaries on movies, people, and different sources of media. Has a great mic, great editing, has a decent persona on screen, but has like 300 subscribers. And I'm like, this is a crime. This is a fucking crime, damn it. It's like I just feel bad for these people because like they're trying their asses off, but yet like people like say, for example, like say for these like small kid channels or to like posting this weird shit online, they get a free pass.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool because I think it's really nice because one of the difficult things about starting out on YouTube is getting exposure. Like you finally create a channel, maybe you upload a video or two, and then you just sit there and you have like, 0 viewers.
Yeah,
And it's like, okay, what do I do? And it's like, unless somebody stumbles across your channel, you don't really get seen by anybody.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's sad, honestly.
Yeah. So, hey, Nachi, yeah, let me send you the link, Nachi. I have to email it to you, okay? Because
Let me check if he's got his email.
yeah, because Google Hangouts is just being a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah. All right.
So,
I'm actually about to grab it real quick. There it is.
good.
I'll post it in the chat. They shouldn't see it. The 1 hour chat because it's a private one. There we go. I sent it in. You know where you saw the fan art? That's where it's at.
Oh, you have some more fan art.
No. I said I posted his email, so you'll find it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I posted in our chat, not the public chat.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking and I'm old. So.
Oh no, it's fine. I've been multitasking with some of my like I had to help one of my sister's friends they didn't know how to edit or render a video, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, they had to help me pull out Movie Maker. I'm like, how do you not know how to do any of this? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna judge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I want to do, is do I think I mentioned this to you before last time you were on, Junkie. I talked about the 25 Gems series, and I want to start that up again, especially now that YouTube has changed the criteria for monetization.
Yeah, it's the algorithm for the for getting monetization.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to have 1,000 subscribers, and then you have to have, I think, what was it, like, I think 4,000 hours of watch time within a 6-month period or within a 1-year period.
I think it's within like February, because once February comes around, the rules are going to set up, and you're going to need to get that fixed. If once February comes around, you'll be locked off. And I think you and I should be okay. You have over double the amount you're required, and you upload videos, I'd say around several like I say 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, usually they're around 19, 20 minutes, so you should be fine.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not worried about it, but I'm worried about what it is I know there's other, like Nachi, the guy who just joined us. He has less than 1,000 subscribers, and other people I know who are out there who have under 1,000 subscribers. So I want to get those people some exposure, so people can go and check out their channels if they like the content, subscribe to them, and it's just a way to sort of just get to generate some exposure, so that
he's actually about to hit 1,000. He's about 70 away.
Yeah, no, it's tricky to, I don't know, it's funny. Like, I'm trying to understand how it actually works in terms of, right now I went onto YouTube, and actually your live stream was one of the first things that came up on my feeds. So in a way, I guess they're still connecting, YouTubers who know each other and stuff like that. But it's also interesting to see how, I mean, they even admitted, like, on one of the emails that I got from them, they were like basically already letting me know that for some time now, they were already not promoting my videos. Like, they were, let me see, I'm trying to look at this.
They won't even promote your videos?
Yeah, I'm trying to see, because there was within the email, as a result, your channel will lose access to all monetization tools and features associated with the YouTube partner program. But I remember seeing somewhere else where it basically said you're not on that preferred. No, there's a term.
You're talking about advertiser friendly stuff.
Not only advertiser friendly, the fact that they don't recommend your videos, like your videos will not be recommended.
That's actually what advertiser friendly does. If it's not deemed advertiser friendly, it will actually lose access to like promotions and such.
Right. So
yeah, and it's
I've already been on that. I guess I've already been on that list for some time now, And by the way, it's nice to meet you. The name's this is the first.
You can just call me Junkie.
Junkie, there you go. And thanks again for having me on, Hellbound. It's been a while since I've been on one of your streams, man.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually sent you an email, and I because you sent me an email saying, hey, next time you have a hangout, let me know. And so I sent you an email back saying, hey, actually I'm gonna have one this Saturday at 6 p.m. and you're welcome to join. So I created the topics thinking that you were gonna join. And then I didn't hear back from you, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess something came up." So I'm glad you popped in.
Yeah, no, I gotta get better about checking emails, because there's just so many different social media things. Like I've got like maybe 7 active emails from Yahoo, from Gmail, the Twitter, the this, the that. I tend to forget. I gotta see how to consolidate them all.
Yeah. If you guys saw my room, I literally have like notes all over the place of different emails, passwords. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that is. I actually created a master list of passwords on my desktop. So I was like, you know what? Just go in there, copy and paste it. I just got so frustrated with it.
Like I have one for my for a let's see here. I have one for my Steam, one for my YouTube. That's obvious. One for my Gmail. I have one for what's this one? Humble Bundle. Why do I even use that? All right. God damn it. I have one for my school. One for my
junkie.
I hope the hell not. I hope I don't want to become an abomination.
Dino DNA will fix it.
Oh God! I mean, technically, he would probably think I would be a dino. I have one for my Patreon, one for my Netflix, all kinds of crap.
No, yeah, no. I started an Excel sheet. What I have is an Excel sheet, and it's.
Oh, that works too, actually.
I try to keep, like, for all the ones that I don't have to worry about them being hacked, like, you know, for like half of my Yahoos, they all pretty much have very similar passwords. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's amazing, dude. It's literally, in terms of all the things, I'd have to look at the actual Excel sheet, but I'm sure I've got like 50 different accounts, because almost everything nowadays you have to. This one job I applied for the other day, they make you open an account in order to apply for the job. You're like, you know, it's so that's why I almost missed it. To top it off, today was the wife day, and she dragged me out to some fucking dance performance. So I almost missed it anyway. So
I will say though, like for if you want to like say like what it's the Nachi, if you're one to like say do YouTube videos for money, if you can't get advertisement benefits, you could possibly open up a Patreon, because from what I'm seeing, you get like around 92 views to about 100 views. Those are 100 people that you could use, and you could advertise your Patreon. Out of one of them, you could get possibly $1 to $10 out of it.
Oh no, I already have a Patreon account, and I've actually had a couple of people, which is really cool. Also with the Teesprings, I've actually sold a couple. I've sold a couple of shirts through Teespring, so that's been great. And yeah, I mean, for me, this is, as much as I would love to make a living from this, you know, and just, you know, off my creativity and all that, I'm already approaching it from the fact that I probably just won't, you know, and I'm just getting more and more to the point where YouTube will just be, you know, if it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think that that's going to free me up now, because for a little while I was under that stress of like, oh my God, I got to come up with this guy. And now I'm like, fuck it, dude. You know, and so I think from now on, my videos are going to be a little more freer, you know.
And as long as you have that Patreon and you're selling T-shirts, you should be good to go.
I think you have like 70 away from 1,000, so you might even hit over 1,000 by February 20th, which is the date.
Yeah,
you know, so you're not that far off.
No, and thanks, hey man, thank you guys for the support and for the encouraging words. And we see, I'm hoping this next little video that I'm doing will maybe get me there, because it's not only that I'm trying to think in terms of mainstream stuff, but now that I'm starting to try to promote through Facebook, and I'm actually, you know, reaching out to friends and family, I am starting to see how different. Like I'm thinking of creating stuff when it's either for fucking hit or miss. Whoever watches it on YouTube, great, and whoever doesn't, I don't care. And when you're really trying to like hit the average person, and you want to reach out to the average person, you know, who's not into YouTube, who has no idea of this whole culture, you know. And so I'm trying to find that happy medium, you know, from many fronts, you know, between just staying true to what is reality and the stuff that I want to talk about, and being creative, and yet reaching an audience, but then not being, you know, being too, milk toast and you know, and then you're like stepping on every word that you're saying, and you're wanting to watch yourself and stuff like that. It's a tricky thing, you know.
But Nachi does some great artwork. He's really got a great style. I gotta push him every so often to get a website.
Wait, real quick, are you the one who did the Adam Carolla versus Jimmy Kimmel thumbnail?
Yeah.
Wow, that is really, really funny looking. That's amazing, dude.
Thanks. How did you? I guess you saw that on, I guess, my channel. I guess the little.
Yeah, I opened it up when you commented on here.
Cool. Yeah. And that's
I was the one who grabbed your email, so I sent it to Hellbound.
Oh, okay, cool, man. No, thank you, dude. And
Yeah, bro.
yeah, that's what I'd like to make a living from. How about yourself, man? This is the first time I see you and your avatar. So your channel is which one?
It's this one. It's called The Names Junkie, which basically what I do is I rant on either religious topics, political, or just either people or stuff that I want to talk about. I also do like reviews for games. At the moment, games is being put aside for just want to set myself up for right now before I get back into it.
Right.
While also doing reviews of people's characters, which is more very art related stuff because people like making their own characters on many different art sites like Tumblr or DeviantArt, and I review them, like give them some advice to work with. And I just sort of experiment pretty much. I just pretty much experiment.
And so this avatar that I'm seeing of yours right now, is that something you had created or you did it yourself or?
I created it the first time and it wasn't the greatest, and so I just tweaked it over the years and just eventually came out as this. As this weird demon dragon thing.
Oh, that's funky,
Dinosaur.
My fans will shut up about that. Thanks, Hellbound.
I got to get myself some horns.
Yeah, really, exactly. You might as well. You got everything else. You got a hat, mask, mustache, even a little upside down question mark. Might as well throw some horns in there.
No, I know. I was trying to see how many more things can I fucking throw onto this character. So, yeah,
definitely. So I started the stream thinking of you and with you in mind. And I know that last time you and we had a conversation about beliefs, and I thought that was a great conversation. And I was thinking maybe we could continue on with that. What do you think?
Oh no, for sure. And I see you also got buying legal pots, so I'm down for whichever one, man.
Yeah, it's really funny. I also because
in buying legal pot, yeah.
Yeah, well, I also bought my first gram of legal pot the other day on Friday. It was really funny because
nice.
So they have these dispensaries which have been in place because they legalized medical marijuana, and I've been having this cough, which is sort of like it's kind of like bronchitis. So I said, you know what, I should get some pot because pot it's very good for opening your airways, and it's also good for glaucoma and stuff like that because it opens up blood vessels and opens up airways and stuff like that. So I figured I'd go and get some mild pot and take a couple of hits every so often to get my lungs to stop coughing for fucking 5 minutes. So I went and I bought some, and it's really funny. You go in there and you give them your ID, and then you get in line, and it's like they have like a whole menu. They have like 50 different types of pot.
Sweet, man. It's like Amsterdam. It sounds like it's like they're already at that point.
Yeah, so they sell grams from $12 to like $20, and then they sell 3.5 grams, and then what's the
how much is a 3.5 gram? How much does that count?
3.5 is between $35 and $60. I want to say. I'm not too sure, but the place I got it from, you can look it up on the website. It's called Grassroots SF.
Huh. Yeah, that almost sounds like the same street prices that are still going on, because here in Miami, it's almost getting there. There's already a couple of these. They're not really dispensaries, but a friend of mine bought weed at one of them the other day, with no medical card, no whatever. He was just talking to the guy, and I guess he knew how to convince the guy that he wasn't a narc or something, and the guy sold him just like a little gram. And I was like, wow, like for me, that felt like history in the making. I'm like, holy shit. Even though that was, I don't know if that would have been considered an illegal transaction, but they actually have weed there. They actually have weed at the store. And of course, you have to have your medical card, and you have to have all this other bullshit, which I know that's going to disappear just like it did in Colorado and in California. Because obviously you were able to go there without having to get a card or any of that bullshit, right?
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. So they first pushed legislation to have legal marijuana for medical use. So if you had a medical card, like you saw your doctor, and let's say you had glaucoma or bronchitis, and you saw your doctor, and your doctor recommended, you know, smoking pot or getting, they even have like liquid and edibles. So if you don't want to smoke it, you can just take it in internally. But they would subscribe it for you. You'd go there and you'd show them, and it was like a prescription. I mean, I never did it, so I don't know exactly the details, but I'm just kind of like giving you my perspective of how it was probably done. And that's what you did. And so, you know, people would go and go to their doctor, get a prescription, and go to that place. But now anybody off the street can walk in and buy it because it's perfectly legal now. So it's legal for recreational use.
Yeah.
Right. And are they still drug testing then? Because I actually, for this last job that I had to apply for, they're still doing drug tests. Well, I mean, like,
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know about that, but I mean, I would assume they're gonna treat it like alcohol. You can't like walk down the street with an open bottle. You can't walk down the street and smoke a joint. You know, you wouldn't show up to work drunk. You wouldn't show up to work high. You know, so I'm thinking that's how they're going to treat. And also driving under the influence. They did a big campaign about letting people know that if you're driving under the influence, it doesn't matter if it's influence of marijuana or if it's influence of alcohol. If you test positive for it, if they pulled you over, you'll be arrested for it. So those, you know, so those laws are in place. But if you're just going to sit at home and smoke a joint, there's no problem with that.
No, yeah, and I can see, well, the kind of jobs that I'm applying for, there's no need to be drug testing me. I'm a graphic artist. I mean, you would almost think you'd want the person to be smoking pot at one point or another. But one thing they don't test for alcohol. I mean, I'm assuming maybe certain jobs, if you're going to be operating heavy machinery, I could totally understand them wanting to drug test. Yeah. But I was wondering if that changes once a state goes recreational on the legal.
I don't. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't need the legal. I don't know the legal standpoint of that. I would assume because it impairs your cognitive function. So I would assume that it would still be, if you had a job where you were operating heavy machinery, you wouldn't want to be high, or drinking to do that because you probably lose a limb. That's why they have those laws in place. But
and employers, I believe employers should have the right, if they want a drug test, hey, dude, that's your right as, a private business to do so. It's just, I think a lot of them do it almost as this reflex, like this knee-jerk thing that a lot of people within human resources, it just becomes, how do you call it, thing. And I would also love to know to what degree they do it because some of these drug testing companies make deals with those business, or I don't know. I'm assuming there's something there, but
that could be. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know, because I know that THC stays in the system for X amount of time. So, like, let's say you smoked a joint, and then the next day you went into work, and it's out of your system, but they drug test you, and it tests positive for it. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're at work high, but it's still in your system because you can still be tested for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case,
Yeah. No, I mean, that was the thing, that I abstained for a couple months. So I'm pretty sure I passed this one test. I hope I did. But we'll see. We'll see it in due time. And
so Comedic is saying it's 35 days. So it stays in your system for 35 days.
Yeah, no, and I've read different things. Like, I've read, if you're like a really heavy smoker, which I don't know if I qualified as one.
Yeah. Got you.
You could actually be in the system for almost 60 days if you're a very heavy smoker, But it had been 60 days, even though there was one day at a party where I was like, yeah, we'll see, dude. It is what it is. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Well,
it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience for me because, it was like entering a whole nother world. And then I actually got it, and I was like, oh shit, wait, how am I gonna smoke it? And I was like, so then I had to go to a place and get a pipe, and it was just I felt so stupid doing it. I felt like a teenage kid again. I'm like going in there going, I want to buy a pipe, and not telling them what it's for. And it was just such a weird experience because it was legal, but I was still felt like I was in high school again. Because that was the only time I used to smoke was in high school. So.
Right. Now, I didn't hear the beginning of the stream. When was the last time you smoked?
Well, when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I smoked. I was, yeah. I mean, I did a lot of partying when I was a young kid, and then at some point, I just quit smoking and doing everything else. And then after that, I just drank. That's like the only thing that I did. And so yeah, it's been a really long time. And now it's like, well, back in my day, there were just a couple of strands. There was hybrids, there was indica, there was sensimilla, and high stick, and dirt weed that you could get or grow, and then homegrown, and then there was only a handful of strands. And I actually knew people who were pretty involved in selling pot and growing it. So, I was pretty involved in it. I had a pretty high tolerance for it. And then I quit, and it's been years. So now when I bought this small amount, I really started with like a teensy tiny little bit, just to sort of gauge exactly where my tolerance is for it. Because I was using it more for a medical purpose than really to sort of get high. So I started out with a really small amount, and I noticed one thing is that the strains that they have now don't last very long. They have like a very short cutoff point. I remember back in my day when I smoked before, you would smoke a little bit and it would last for maybe a couple hours or so, at least maybe 4 or 5 hours. And then,
Right.
you smoke a little more. And this one, it seems like wears off maybe after like 45 minutes or an hour. I don't know if that's the way that they're growing it now.
Huh.
Could be. Yeah.
Also, don't mind me. I'm just advertising Nachi's channel a little bit.
Oh, thank you,
Yes.
dude. I really appreciate that, man.
I
Yeah,
checked,
definitely.
and you jumped. I checked, and you jumped at least 5 subs right now.
Cool,
Yeah, good.
cool, man. And I don't know, does this happen to you guys also? I guess that's the tricky thing about talking politics and trying to be honest about it and not caring whether you're on the left or the right. Depending on your video, you will lose subs, depending on what the hell you just said.
Mhm.
I actually checked, and you are correct. I've checked on here. See, on Thursday you lost 2. Saturday you lost 4.
Oh, wait a second. How do you do that? How can you check like that?
I checked it on Social Blade. Hold on, let's see here. Let me pull it up on the chat.
Social
Yeah,
Blade.
Social Blade is nice. Do you see that link, Nachi?
Now, let me see. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I left it in our chat.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, thanks, man. Definitely. I'm gonna check
Lets
that
you
out.
see like what's the actual like more in depth of like what it looks like. I see on June 17th you gotten the most views, but then it plummeted, and it's been stagnant ever since.
Yeah, because I did that one. I think that was the one that I did on Kathy Griffin. And I have noticed clearly talking about celebrities will get you quite a few views. But I guess I could and should go that route. I just don't. I mean, I did that on Kathy Griffin because I really did believe in that. And it was also a test. But I really was like, this is kind of ridiculous, for her to get the slack that she's getting.
What you could do is that this could also rake in like junk views. I call them junk views because like they're like mindless people. Like, oh look, I saw this one video. I'm never gonna come back. But it'll also have a chance of raking in people that will come back. And when you keep doing that, you're going to eventually, like, you can eventually trade off, and it will still plummet, but you'll still get daily views that are pretty decent and for a good, healthy channel. That's why I did it for a while.
Because, this is the way I look at it, Nachi, is if you have a particular style that you enjoy doing, whatever it might be, you know, talking about politics, talking about religions, ranting, commenting, whatever, as long as you enjoy doing it and you continue to do that and don't really go, you know, stray too far away from it, and you develop a strong base of people who enjoy that type of content, it's going to be a win-win situation, you know, because you're going to be doing what you want to do, and the people who are subscribed to you or watch your videos are going to be following you because you make that content. You know what I mean?
Right. No, for sure. And that's what I thought would be the beautiful thing. That was one of the things. That's why I would love to make a living off this, just because of that, because of the ability to do what you love to do. And then it's no longer work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I like to kid myself that I'm helping make a difference or some shit like that, you know, like helping to contribute something back to society.
Well, I mean, you are. Maybe just a small circle of society, but I mean, influence is influence. You know, I mean, if you want to get a message out there, you're gonna hit ears. You know, maybe not 100 million ears, but you're still gonna be talking in, you know, 20 people's ears, 100 people's ears, or whatever, and you're gonna get those people to think about whatever it is you just said. You know, and that's, you know, maybe not a huge difference, but it is a small difference.
Oh, no. And I think it definitely does make a difference. Look, if there's one YouTuber that's made a difference for me, has been Atheism is Unstoppable. Like his videos, because he pretty much put into words things that I had been sensing for years.
Your mic did something weird.
Yeah, it just exploded on my end.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Shit, because that's the other thing, man. And I was experimenting with another mic. How does it sound right now?
You sound a little bit quieter.
Yeah, it sounds okay, but back up to when you're talking about Atheism is Unstoppable, because that's where it cut off.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, I can probably hop out real quick because I'm going to see what my friends are doing right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
Well, hey, thanks, Junkie. And yeah. All right, thanks.
You know, and thank you, man. Thank you for checking out and for you know, promoting my channel, man. I really appreciate that, man.
No problem. I'll see you guys later.
All right, Junkie.
Cool,
take
man.
care. Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him.
Can you put his link, like his channel, on the side chat here, so I can maybe go check him out later on and stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whenever you get a chance. Yeah. And but anyway, what I was saying about him is, like, he's one of those that I think I've noticed there's a lot of things that he says that later on you see it reverberating through other people's YouTube's channels. And not only that, just in general, I think a lot of people have caught on. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump or anything like that, you know, is getting his ideas, but I think that, you know, calling out groups like Black Lives Matter and showing them for the false narratives that they're pushing. Like, he's like, for example, virtue signaling and stuff like that. That's something that, unless maybe I'm getting it twisted or I'm giving him way more credit than he deserves. The first time I heard the term virtue signaling was from one of his videos. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I first heard that, I was like, that perfectly describes this behavior, which is so true. And then little by little, I started hearing other people talking about that, but I never heard the term virtue signaling until it came from him.
Yeah, sorry, hold on one second. Sorry, hold on. So I posted the link in our chat, and I also posted the Junkie's link in the chat if people want to go and check out his channel. So, all right, sorry, Nachi, go ahead.
Nice, man. The guy's got 20,000 subs. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely sub into him right now. So yeah, I know it is just interesting to see that. You know, it's interesting to see how do you call it? How sometimes YouTubers that like him, that he's not a household name or anything like that, and I think only YouTubers know who he is, and some people, but you end up having that kind of an influence to a certain degree. And then, of course, I'm like talking about many of the things. I try to turn other people onto his channel and stuff like that. People who can't stand him, people who have watched his videos are like, no thanks. But yeah, it is interesting how you can have somewhat of an effect. And
well, there's all right, I'm going to get a little esoteric here, so just bear with me. And if you want to ask me questions about it, you can. But I believe in a semi-universal consciousness to a certain degree. Not like you can read everybody's freaking thoughts and people can read your thoughts, but I do believe that there is a consciousness that begins to develop and spread. Somehow, I don't know exactly how it happens, but if you have people who begin to sort of shift their consciousness towards something like a different idea, it spreads, and other people begin to change consciousness about that. That is something that I believe.
I think that's measurable, almost.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with that. It's. I don't know if you were going to, sorry that I cut you off. I don't know if you were going to get into spirituality of it, but that's where probably you and I would disagree. But hold on, I'm going to mute because I have a car in the background.
Yeah, I don't know how involved it is in spirituality. I would say for me, it's a philosophical theory. This is something that I believe. I mean, I know that Jung was sort of like a proponent of that theory, but again, there's other psychologists who sort of poo-pooed on that and don't believe it. But I believe it is. I believe it is true. Like if you have an idea for something, you might suddenly see another person having the same idea, and then you're both doing the same thing. Or you might be in a situation where you're thinking of someone, and that person sort of pops into your life again, or calls you on the phone or whatever. That's kind of like a lower level universal consciousness, which I believe in, which I don't know if you'd exactly call it spirituality, but I know that it does. It's part of my philosophy, especially in the realm of working with magic and stuff like that, is understanding that universal conscious influence and being able to sort of ride it like a wave and be able to, if there's certain people you want out of your life, you stop thinking about them, and suddenly those people sort of disappear from your life. And if there's people in your life who you really want to be around, you think about them more, they sort of stay in your life more, and that's where it starts to get a little esoteric.
I see what you mean by esoteric, even though I thought esoteric meant more like things that are just not that known. But I think the whole thing of thinking about someone and then they call you up, again, not to get too much into that one. I think a lot of that really is just coincidence. And I've seen the documentaries, and I know I've heard Richard Dawkins talk about that really it's just a coincidence, especially if you were to like sit down and write down all the times you think about other people and they don't call you, and stuff like that. But in terms of an overall consciousness type of thing where everybody starts kind of thinking of the same thing, yeah, I think that's kind of almost going on right now. For example, to a large degree, the Me Too movement, the hashtag Me Too. And I think overall, there's a really cool thing happening in society, which it comes across as obnoxious. And I think Black Lives Matter and Antifa are examples of that. So is the Me Too thing. But I think overall, it's good that at least in most Western countries, people are becoming a lot more considerate of other people's feelings. And I do agree that there's been people who've been marginalized, who've been treated like shit and stuff like that. I shudder to think that I might have played into some of that myself. It is good that we're moving more towards this where, the Harvey Weinsteins of the world can't seem to get away with stuff like that. And overall, yeah, I guess you could almost say that kind of works like this consciousness, like this wave, and everybody's kind of on the same wavelength. But then it goes overboard, and it's funny how societies swing the pendulum. Like today was the fucking another woman's march, and I'm like, here in the United States, I don't know, man. I would love to see them do a woman's march and like really hold up posters of women in Saudi Arabia, women in Africa, like start defending those women, because women here in the United States, and I got into a couple of little Twitter battles with a couple of them today. But I diffused it, because here's the other thing that I'm learning, and I don't know if you're seeing this too. You can't fight fire with gasoline. And I would love, this is what I mean by trying to, like, make a difference. I would love to see an end to this partisan fucking divide that we have in this country, which I think it's probably been worse before. I mean, I'm assuming you probably could remember, when you were younger, problems. But nowadays, because this is not the 1960s, you know what I'm saying? This is not, there really is no need for the Black Panthers, even though, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's some real false narratives going on. And for example, today, the film festival that I went to with my wife, the very first movie was about that. It was about Black victimhood and people, all these young Black men talking about, oh my God, I'm so afraid of getting shot. But then you talk to some of them and you ask them, when was the last time you were pulled over by a police officer? And they're like, never. And of course, I don't want to say like, haha, you see what I'm saying? But that's the other problem, that it's good to have that sensitivity, but now there's a lot of people identifying with it that have never really had to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens with a lot of, especially it sucks with race, because there is something legitimate to what they're saying. I know that there are a lot of racists out there still. And I mean, I've had people shamelessly tell me they're racist. But to push that narrative to the point where that if you're a Black man, you have to worry about getting killed, you have to worry about being killed by a cop. Now you're pushing it to another extreme, which now that has its own backlash.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that that sort of victim identification is something that does seem to be spreading. And again, it's part of that consciousness. When people start tweeting about it and talking about it, you turn it on the movies, and people start to think about it, and then you can kind of see the culmination of it all when Trump became elected, because, there was the narrative. We already had the Black Lives Matter movement going, and the narrative of the white patriarchy, or the white privilege group, and how they were marginalized, and how, the police force is sort of these, in not only controlled by, but enforces and upholds this patriarchy, this white patriarchy, or this white privilege, or what's the word? A white supremacist sort of society. And then, the things that Trump said, and people said, oh, well, he's a racist. And it just sort of it keeps building up, and it keeps building up. And that's what we're having today. And it's bleeding into the Women's March and the Me Too movement and all of this. And yeah, I mean, it's sort of taken on a life of its own. It's not about changing anything. To be honest, and if anybody's offended by this, I'm sorry, but it's not about changing anything. It's about the status. So they're not actually wanting to change anything, because there's nothing to change. There's nothing to change. It's been changed. We have equal opportunity in this country. You have the right to have a home and a work and a place like that. Nobody can discriminate you based upon sex, religion, or race. And if they do, you can sue the fucking hell out of them. So it's not about solutions. It's now about status. And that's what pisses me off about it. Because like you said, there are countries like in Saudi Arabia where, your husband can beat you and if he wants, he can divorce you, and you know, if you look at another man, he can you know, well, I don't want to miss, but I mean, yeah, they get treated really badly, and there's other parts of this world where you get killed for your race. There's in South Africa, there are farmers, white farmers, who are getting slaughtered simply because of the color of their skin, and we're not hearing about it. So there are actual things going on in this world. In America, we are all fucking spoiled brats, and we just don't realize it. We're very, very well off. But these people who are perpetuating this social justice, they need enemies. So they need to create enemies because they put money into it. They generate it. They need to get people upset. They need to get people pissed off about stuff. And the media is feeding into it because the media wants to get clicks, and it's just an ugly mess. I don't know how it's gonna, if it's gonna come to some sort of a culmination or what's gonna happen with it. But at some point, the tide is gonna have to shift. But I don't know. I don't yet have a good understanding of what that shift might look like.
Yeah. No, here's the other thing. Oh shit! I'm seeing it. I'm hearing an echo. Is that for me?
I don't know. Is the chat hearing an echo?
I'm hearing an echo. Now I'm not. Now I'm not hearing an echo. No, what I was going to say, and I don't know if you wanted to get into this, and because it ties into the whole consciousness of a nation and globally as well, because the problems with Black Lives Matter have already gone off into Europe as well. And because my wife is from I don't want to embarrass my in-laws.
Your mic just did something weird.
Oh, my mic did something weird?
Yeah, it kind of like it blew up and got very fuzzy.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, dude. And I even tested out a different mic this weekend, and it just wasn't working. So, but anyway, just let me know whenever that happens.
Sure.
Getting back to the consciousness thing with Black Lives Matter in particular, because I think that's the deadlier one of all the different social justice movements, like with the transgenders. Like, I'm not worried with the transgenders. I'm not worried with the pussy hats. But I am worried with the Black Lives Matter because there's violent criminality involved in that one. And people have died over that. Cops have been killed over that movement. And right now, just really quick, because today, like I said, I saw this one film, and the very first one was that. It was all about, Black men. Oh my God, I'm constantly being judged and blah, blah, blah. And the ones that they always talk about are Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin. And when you look at the years that they were killed, Trayvon Martin was killed in 2012, which was a re-election year for Obama. And Michael Brown was killed in 2014, which is a midterm election year. I wish I had the time and the money to do a documentary to find out if their deaths were calculated in their exploitation. Because every year there's a Black man who's being shot by cops, and by Black cops to top it off. Mm-hmm. But every year there's also white people being shot by cops. As a matter of fact, more white people are shot by cops than Blacks. And that's the crazy thing, to see how society works. Like, the majority of people, granted, the majority of people are not YouTube geeks like I am, where they're, political junkies and they get into this shit. They just kind of go with the flow, and that's what I do find scary about conscious, what we were talking about before.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Now, my position on that is, okay, I agree with you about the violence aspect of it, and I also agree upon the holding the microscope to very specific cases and not looking at a more broader picture of the whole police interaction with suspects. But I know that, like, when I was growing up, you did not run from the police. If you ran from the police, you'd probably get shot. That's just how it was. There was actually a time where people used to, you probably hear on TV, halt or I'll shoot. But they would,
Yeah,
if
vaguely.
you ran from a police officer, they would shoot you. That's just because that's just what they're not going to chase you. They will shoot you. If you do not halt, they would shoot you. And then I don't know exactly when, but they changed that law. So then they had to fire a warning shot, and then they stopped doing a warning shot. And, then they started to pursue suspects. So if you resist arrest, the police is going to use an equal amount of force plus more to subdue you. So if you continue to resist, they're going to continue to escalate how much force they're going to use. If you keep resisting, the force is going to escalate. It's going to escalate to a certain point where, you're going to have like 10 cops on top of you if you really continue to resist them. So my position has always been, if you are absolutely 100% innocent, surrender to the police. Go to court, whatever, get off. You're gonna live, you're gonna go home, you're gonna see your wife, you're gonna see your kids. If you are innocent and a police stops you and you run from them or try to, grab their gun, or you try and do whatever, now you're guilty, and if you keep resisting arrest and you keep escalating it, chances are you're not going to see your wife again, and you're probably not going to see your kid again. Either you're going to get killed or you're going to go to jail for it, and they do not point out the responsibility on the person accused of a crime. They put all the responsibility on the police officer, and that's not right.
Yeah. Even though, granted, I've had my run-ins with nasty cops who are assholes, but instinctively, I just always knew that's a battle you're not going to win. So don't even try. You swallow your pride. There was one that I actually took him to court, and I beat him in court. And I just knew not to fucking argue with this guy. It's a no-win situation, and then that's the scary thing with them. It's like with Black Lives Matter, and now this new one, the resistance movement, and the little Twitter battle that I got on today. I thought it was with Michael Moore, because Michael Moore put out, hey man, I forgot the tweet. I can look it up, but let me not waste time with that. Basically, Michael Moore tweeted out something about the Women's March, and he was like, yeah, we need to fight this. We need to take things back. And I'm like, who took what from you, dude? But that whole thing that he's into, I think it's called resistance, because now there is this new movement called the resistance. Again, I guess the resistance against Trump and stuff. But now that you were talking about resisting against cops, and it's like they're almost encouraging that. They're encouraging the resistance against authority, which is like you're encouraging people to endanger their lives, and you're encouraging them to endanger their lives for no good reason.
And this is the thing that, exactly. And this is the thing that really disturbs me about it, is because, again, going back to consciousness, you start putting out into people's consciousness that, police are out to kill you. So if you are pulled over for something, you're probably going to be a little more nervous. Let's say you are a black male driving a car, maybe your license is sort of suspended, or maybe you have some little minor thing, and then you get pulled over by a police officer, and he's a white police officer, and all of a sudden you start thinking of these scenarios in your head. Maybe you start to become a little more nervous, maybe stutter your words. The police officer picks up on that and goes, okay, why is this guy so nervous? What's going on? Now his adrenaline is going. He starts to become a little nervous. And he's like, uh-oh, what's going on? And all of this can happen in microseconds. So then you go into the situation, and then maybe he does something, or the police officer does something, and now you have a homicide on your hands. Either, the police officer kills the guy on accident, or something happens. But these are things that, because this narrative is being spread into the consciousness of people, the chances of little tiny situations that could be not turned into a big thing could be turned into something big. And now police officers are more nervous because they're afraid other, criminals are becoming more emboldened and more willing to resist arrest because they know that somebody's got a camera, or maybe the police officer doesn't want to pursue it. And it's just, it's a really awful situation that is just, in my opinion, is escalating. However, I do think that there is one good benefit that is going to come out of this, or should come out of this, is I think they need to change the way that they pull people over. They need to change the way that they approach certain situations.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that because, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just, that was pretty much the end of that thought.
Yeah, no, because I don't know about your experiences with cops, but I haven't had an experience with a cop in a long time. I guess because I'm older now. But man, when I was in my 20s, especially my early 20s, apparently I must have been an asshole because I was running into cops a lot. Right. And they antagonize. They do antagonize. Like, they make situations worse than they need to be. That's the thing about cops. And that's where, that's why it's so tricky to get to the core of these issues, because there are legitimate grievances on both sides. And it's interesting to see how difficult it is for people to just see the full spectrum, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as easy as saying, oh, every single white cop out there is racist, because they're not. Yeah. It's like when people talk about, like, somebody getting pulled over and what happened, and then the police officer shot them. They shot them for no other reason except because the person was black. It's like, no. Do you know how absurd that sounds? First of all, you're assuming that the police officer who did that was racist. Then they're also willing to basically risk going to jail as a police officer. They're willing to risk their job, their security, their family. I mean, you know how much they have riding on them, when they pull you over and they just decide, oh, I'm going to kill this guy because what the hell, why not? I'm a cop, I can do that. No police officer's thinking that. I think a police officer pulls their gun out every time they pull that gun out, it's a life and death situation. They don't just pull it out willy-nilly. And if they do, they shouldn't be on the police force. It's just,
sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's the crazy situation. I'm just hoping that somehow, I think it is beginning to calm down a little bit. But I think we really need to stop being so sensitive, and we have to start taking responsibility for our actions. Even with the whole Me Too movement, it's like I heard some of these stories about these women with Weinstein, and it's like, you see these red flags everywhere, and yet you still are with him, throughout this whole scenario. It's like, at some point you have to take responsibility and say, okay, I need to walk away from this situation. I don't care what's going to happen to my career, but I don't want to be, involved with this man. That's what, they have to take responsibility for their actions.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I know that Bill Maher came out with something against the Me Too movement, like that it's going too far. The fact that Steven Crowder gave Bill Maher a thumbs up on that, I could already. That's the funny thing. This is like a chess game. Like, the fact that I see Steven Crowder giving Bill Maher a thumbs up goes to show that Bill Maher is obviously going now against the hashtag Me Too movement. And then it's funny because then this comedian, Samantha Bee, she's now coming out against anybody who's coming out against them. Like, it's hilarious the way that society functions in that sense. And I'm trying to see how we can maybe tie this into what I'm assuming you wanted to talk about, which was belief systems. I think this definitely ties in, because these almost become religions in of themselves. The religion of politics to a large degree, or taking political sides. And I have to watch out with it myself.
Yeah, I would disagree with you. I think it comes down to identity labels, and I agree. I think that certain religions definitely can have identity labels. Like if you know, like people who are, you know, quote unquote feminists, that's their identity label. And yeah, I know people kind of sort of look at that as a religion, but I don't see that as a religion. I see that more as an identity label. And so when you have people using this hashtag Me Too, that's an identity label. That's how I see it.
I see it almost maybe okay. It's clearly not a religion, but I think some of the same dynamics play in, and I mean I should probably take a crash course in neurology. I want to start understanding because I think it goes beyond. I think it goes beyond the psychology of people. I think for some people it's the way their brain functions, and I got to be careful with it myself because I sometimes, I mean, enough of you guys have pointed it out to me, like the other YouTubers that I have chats with and stuff. Clearly, my thing is Castro and Cuba. That's my little identity bullshit. The only thing is, I don't claim victimhood, even though I know I constantly talk about my mother. But my mother and my father were clearly the victims. And I don't want to ride the coattails of their tragedies either. My thing is more just, I see people praising that, and that's the danger that I see. But I got to be careful because look, today with the whole little Twitter shit, when I thought I was replying to Michael Moore. This is how pathetic I can get myself. So I see the tweet from Michael Moore, and so I like immediately, oh, I'm gonna rebuttal him. So I fucking, you know, send out my little tweet, and then right afterwards, because I think when he sent his tweet out, he didn't have many replies.
Mm-hmm.
You get a reply that says "bug off, Nachi," and I'm like, "Oh, did he read it?" And so I'm assuming it. I still have to learn how to use Twitter. I just see his little, you know, I see at Michael Moore, and I'm like, "Oh, it's him." So then I tweeted back, and I'm like, "And I bet you support." You know, I know he did support Castro and Chavez. So I tweet that out, and then lo and behold, I get like 18 tweets later on when I finally came back from this thing. I see 18 tweets like, "You idiot! Why do you fucking, you know, like, you know, trying to like throw in Chavez and Castro? It goes to show that you're just reading Breitbart and blah 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 blah." And that's when I kind of realized, okay, I'm being a little reactive myself. You know, I can't get like that into the wrong. So it is, but I wonder to what degree that might be something going on in my brain that's beyond psychology. Like, I wonder if my amygdala or
well, you gotta back this up a little bit. Did you say numerology earlier?
Oh no, neurology. Like
neurology.
Neurology. Okay, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, because I kind of like that stuck out of my mind. I was like, why did he mention numerology?
No.
Neurology. Okay. Yeah.
Neurology.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, the human mind to me is fascinating, you know, and yeah, we have to, you know, I mean, if we can see the quote unquote darkness inside of ourselves, I think that's very insightful. And by darkness, what I mean is those things that are usually sort of hidden from us, those aspects of our personality that we don't necessarily like to explore or admit that we have. You know, Jung called it the shadow self. And you know, when we begin to recognize that and embrace that, that's definitely in my opinion an important shift in us, because we're able to look at ourselves more human. You know, we can see ourselves as being more human, and we also, in my opinion, we also develop more empathy for other people, because then we can see how they are and how they fall prey to their, you know, to their own shadow self, and how they fall prey to their own insecurities, and you know, all the negative aspects of humanity that people prefer to sort of ignore or suppress. If you suppress something inside of yourself, it just amplifies it more. It's kind of like the joke about, you know, the jock who hates gays because he has homosexual tendencies himself. You know, there's some truth to that. If you hate something with such a deep passion, there's probably a reason why you hate it. It's because it's an aspect of yourself. You know?
Oh yeah. No, and I've had the question, and don't worry, this will be the last time I bring up the Castro thing. The reason why I the reason why I hate that is because there's a legitimate one. Because there's been people who've pointed out maybe you hate him because you're envious of him or because you wanted it. I'm like, and I thought about it for a second. I'm like, no, why the hell would I want? I mean, I can almost see the whole thing about power, perhaps, and like the fact that the guy supposedly was a womanizer, and he was, and like a lot of these other dictators, they're like they're beyond rock star status, And I admit, I always wanted to be a rock star myself, and these guys supposedly are beyond that, because I've heard Chinese people talking about Mao Zedong, and they're like, if you really want to understand why so many Chinese people still follow this man after the Great Leap Forward, imagine your favorite rock star and multiply him by 1,000. And I was like, wow. So maybe, perhaps, but no, the reason why I hate this guy is because, first of all, directly my mother and father, what they went through, and not my ancestors, not my great, no, my mother, my father, other relatives that were imprisoned. And so I think, but it's interesting how that hatred has really probably taken more of a hold in me than even in my own parents. At least when my parents were alive, I guess since they actually lived it, after a while, they buried that hatchet because they can't continue. Right. I think for me, it's become almost like this righteous anger thing that just, if anything, I'll admit, it is a little fun to get angry about, sometimes. But
yeah.
And that's what I would, but I would love to understand. I know there's people would say it's the psychology of anger, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's the neurology of it. Because I'm almost positive either endorphins or adrenaline, something's going on. And I've always had anger issues. And there are times when I find myself angry where I can, I've learned to, count to 10 and all that stuff. And part of me is like, dude, there's no need to get this angry. There really isn't. But there's another thing in me that wants to rage. There's something inside me that wants to break something. And I know that that's got to be a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I can definitely agree with you. I think you're definitely onto something there. I think that, we do become sort of addicted to, brain chemicals in, either it be, like puppy love or anger or whatever. We can definitely become addicted to those in a sense. Like that makes us sort of feel normal. So yeah, definitely I can see that. One of the great things about counting to 10 is you'll find that if you do sit with whatever emotion you are, whatever you're feeling, if you sit with it for a certain period of time, it goes away. That's just how it is. We don't really hold on to those chemicals in our brain for very long. So they do go away if you just let it pass, sort of say, or count to 10. But yeah, I can definitely see how, it's like righteous anger is like the best. It's like you can hate and you can be angry about something and you can be in the right. You can be justified about it. And other people are going to support you about it. But it's also very dangerous because that sort of righteous anger is the sort of thing that leads to, for example, the Antifa bike lock guy hitting that guy in the skull with it, which almost killed him. That righteous anger that leads to the burning of heretics at a stake. That righteous anger leads to wars. It's just that's a very dark aspect of humanity, and that is one of the things that disturbs me the most whenever I see like these protests that are happening, be it Black Lives Matter or the Antifa or whatever, because that's that righteous anger, and that's the shit that scares me the most.
Yeah. And when the masses get something in their head like that, I'm hearing the echo. I'm hearing the echo now, but I don't know if that's affecting. Anyway, what I was going to say is that when the masses get it into their heads to do something like that, they're worse than a force of nature, or they're like a force of nature. you know, it becomes, yeah, pandemonium, you know.
Yeah, it's. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get trying to send somebody a link here.
Oh no, yeah, do what you gotta do. And no, I can keep bullshitting for a little bit in the meantime. What was I gonna say? Yeah, and I think that as far as counting to 10, I read that you could almost put it down to chemicals. For me, I've learned it's not only a matter of counting to 10, but it's breathing to 10. And so I do 1 deep exhale, 2 deep, one deep inhale, 2 deep exhale, 3 deep inhale, 4 deep exhale. That's how much of an anger issue I've had. Like I've had to fucking almost like teach myself these things. And the science behind it is that when you breathe deep, especially, now your diaphragm is involved in the process. And by your diaphragm going up and down, now that triggers something else in your brain that causes your brain to focus more on breathing than it does to focus on the situation.
And they're slow, deep breaths, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's like and then I've also learned to do it without showing it to people, because there are times that my bosses have pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I can't let my boss know that he's pissing me off. So I've learned to breathe in deep and exhale deep in front of someone without them realizing that I'm just like keeping myself from fucking losing it. And yeah. And so I'm not trying to make myself out to be a madman either, dude.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. I mean, I've done that. I've done that in various situations. I mean, it's one of the things that it's very important to my practice is meditation and being able to focus my attention and being able to sit with emotions and understanding how they affect you. And no, I completely understand what you're talking about. If you take slow, deep breaths, it relaxes you. And if you use very fast breaths, you find it energizes you. I mean, our breath is sort of like the internal combustion engine of our being. That's how we control ourselves. And you can shift your state of your emotional state using breathing. That's been proven. But a lot of my practice and a lot of my ritual and stuff revolves around that of spending time with yourself and breathing in and being able to relax and focus your attention. Meditation for me has been one of the most important things that I can do. For some reason, just sitting there quietly for, I don't do it for like a long time. I do it for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe 10, 15 minutes. But it just seems to just help me so much just to stay sort of just kind of like calm and focused. It's amazing.
By the way, can you hear background noise coming from me? Because my wife is watching a movie on the other room. So I'm going to see if I tell her to put on some headphones. Can you hear the background or no?
I think I did hear something earlier, but it wasn't very distracting.
Oh, okay. No, if it is, let me know. I'll go over and I'll ask her to put on some headphones instead. She's watching Wonder Woman, and I wonder if she's watching it because of the fucking woman.
Is she watching the newest Wonder Woman?
I think so. I think she's watching that one. And but by the way, what was it exactly that you wanted the chat to be about? You said it was about beliefs. And
well, yeah, because you and we got into this conversation before about the beliefs, and I know that you are, and if I'm mislabeling you, please correct it, but you are an anti-theist atheist, correct?
Yes, I would say that. And it's funny because today I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the conversation we had, and I was trying to think what's the best way to put it into words. Why? Because I remember you were saying, if people believe something, what's the harm? Mm-hmm. And of course, if it were just that, if it were just a private belief that a person holds dear to themselves, I guess, I definitely don't want to get into thought policing either. but it's the cumulative, collective effect of those beliefs, and they're usually tied into an overarching belief system. And for me, and I was actually talking about it with my wife today, how it affects, I think the biggest effect I've personally seen it is in unwanted pregnancies. And I obviously don't want to get into stories of people I know, but there are quite a few pregnancies that happened that were beyond unplanned. They were just unwanted. And yet the people went through with those pregnancies because of their religious beliefs. Because number one, they thought it was a sign from God. Number two, abortion would be a mortal sin. And the kids end up suffering, dude. And you see this then reverberate throughout society. And I think that's maybe, for me at least, one of the biggest examples as to why I think that's why I choose to make videos about this and stuff. And this is one of the effects I would love to be able to have, is convincing people into being extremely careful with the decisions they make in their lives, especially if they're tied to religious beliefs, because they're more than likely going to be based on false information.
Okay. So, all right. So it sounds like what you're talking about when I say religion and beliefs, it sounds like you understand that there's 4,200 other religions in the entire world, but mainly you're talking about the big three. Would that be accurate?
I would say the big, right? Maybe for me, I see them as the big five. The big five being
the big five. Okay.
I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if we're on the same page here. The big five for me are obviously Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, because even though a lot of people say Buddhism is a philosophy, I've met enough Buddhists, I've worked with enough Buddhists that they clearly treat it as a religion. And when I remember being in China and going to Buddhist temples, and the Chinese treat it like a religion.
Okay,
and
so
bow to these. Yeah.
So we don't even have to play the game of what's bad about Christianity and Islam, because we know where that'll go. But what is harmful, or what are the negative aspects of Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, in your opinion?
Well, I'll go with Hinduism. The caste system, the crushing. I mean, if people talk about poverty here in the United States, go to India. Look, that's a country I still haven't traveled to, and the poverty over there is just, people believe in the poverty. Like, the poverty is part of the religion. It's because they truly believe they are part of a caste system and there's nothing they could do about it. Judaism, almost every Jewish friend or coworker I've known, for the most part, they're basically atheist. However, just do a little bit of research on the Hasidic Jewish community and look at how they live their lives. They're also like families that have 5, 6, 7 children. To their credit, however, those 5, 6, or 7 children are with one mother and one father. At least it's not spread out with a bunch of different partners. But they're also very big on the welfare, if I'm not mistaken. And it just doesn't. I mean, Hasidic Jews, they make a very small, how do you call it, a percentage to make that much of a large effect. But I think even in Israel, like, even the Israelis have a problem with the Hasidic Jews, because the Hasidic Jews over there, they do not want to join the army. And that's an issue that you could look it up. You could find enough articles on that where, like, the Israelis, there's a big difference between Israelis and Hasidic Jews. They're both Jewish, but the Hasidic Jews, I think their thing is like, no, don't worry, we'll pray for you guys. Well, our line of defense is going to be the prayer at the Wailing Wall. I'm like,
so okay, so what's so bad about the Hasidic Jews? They don't want to join the army?
Well, according to the Israelis, which you would almost think that's a good thing. And but no, I think it's more the effects that I see with religion tend to be more on the personal people. And I've seen enough documentaries on Reformed Hasidic Jews that they managed to get out of an arranged marriage, because if I'm not mistaken, they still arrange marriages, within that community, especially the tighter it is. They also have a problem with, how do you call it, their rabbis who molest their children. There's a problem within that community with there as well.
Now,
And then,
do they actively try to suppress that?
Oh yeah,
like the Catholic Church.
Yeah. They except the thing is that you don't have the numbers like you have with the Catholic Church. I mean, the Catholic Church, there are entire nations that are under the grip of the Catholic Church. I mean, Ireland, well, at least Northern Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, Italy, Spain, you name almost any South or Central American country, they're more than likely under the grip of the Catholic Church, and fucking, worshiping at the feet of the Pope. And so I think a lot of but like within the Hasidic Jews, it seems like the problems would be personal, and you'd be like, oh well, what's it to you if some Hasidic Jewish kid got molested? He's, they're going to stay within that neighborhood. Number one, it's true. What is it to me? I'm probably never going to meet the kid. I may not be affected, but dude, those effects, that has that rippling effect, and that's where probably you and I would agree with that. That affects ultimately the consciousness of a society.
Yeah. All right. Actually, let's back up a little bit, because okay. So the question was, what is harmful about Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism? So far I've heard. So for Hindus, there's the caste system. For Hasidic Jews, there's maybe there's they don't want to join the army, and maybe something about child molestation that's sort of actively being suppressed. Would that be accurate?
I mean, yeah.
And what about?
I don't know if it's Buddhism. Well, I know that there I'd kind of be speaking out of my ass, but if I'm not mistaken, I think even the Dalai Lama has had they have their own army and stuff like that. And I do know that they also have a problem with child molestation within the monks and the people who put their kids in these monasteries as well. Mm-hmm. That is documented. I mean, that I'm not talking out of my ass. I can't tell you the documentary I saw that in, but there's enough documentation of that. And then again, I think the biggest problem is when people are basing their decisions, especially major life decisions, on false information. But that's never a good thing.
How do you know that somebody is making life decisions based upon a false religious belief? Like, do you have a specific example that you could use?
Again, the pregnancies, the unwanted, let's call them unplanned pregnancies I've seen with people that I've known, and having those conversations with them where, they really did believe, no, this is a sign from God.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
they go with it.
That's okay. I'm just going to repeat what you said to me. Okay, so you're using the reference of, like, let's say a good Catholic girl gets pregnant and she decides to go ahead and go through with it, even though she's really not prepared for it, and she was planning to go off to college and become a doctor and all this stuff, and then she got pregnant, and she decided to, because of her religious beliefs, have a child. So yeah, I can see that, but I think that the harm in that is how the person, first of all, interprets their beliefs. And I don't think that every single Catholic girl or every single Christian girl is going to. I think that that's a small portion of Catholics who would probably do that. Christians who would do that. Not all of them.
I mean, I guess, yeah, there we would probably have to invest time and money in doing an accurate database, and then I think it would probably be very difficult.
Yeah, I'm not into doing all that for this. This is just a conversation.
No, I know. And look, I could use a stat that a friend of mine who, I guess I'm going to call him a regressive in that sense, because he's definitely not a leftist in the terms of, being a socialist. He's clearly a liberal, but he's a liberal the way I'm a liberal, so I don't want to use that term. But he's one of these people who, again, and I'm sorry I keep using Black Lives Matter as the litmus test, but like he will defend that to the death, you know. And so the other day I was telling him that because I'm starting to see one of the biggest root causes of societal problems are, children being born to single mothers and absentee fathers and blah, 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 blah. And my friend really doesn't, my friend, he's more about, no, we got to go after the people on Wall Street. Okay, that's a problem too. But anyway, the point is, my friend pointed out, well, let me ask you, how many women do you think, actually, how many out of 100 women, how many do you think actually have teenage pregnancies? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 15. He was like, wrong, it's only 2. It's only 2% of the population. And I'm like, you know what? That goes to show what a problem it really is. Because even at 2% of the population, go to any prison and ask how many, go and do like a head count on the both male and female prisons. See how many of those prisoners are born to teenage mothers. I bet you it's now all of a sudden it's not 2%. Now all of a sudden it's a much larger percentage.
Okay.
And how many of them are born to, and that's where I think you start to really see those effects.
Okay. So all right.
It might be small, just
So all right. So we don't need to get caught up in statistics and data and details and all that. Let me see if I can kind of maybe simplify and kind of shave some stuff off so we can start working with a manageable pile of ideas here. So maybe you have a hard time, or maybe you see harmful effects of maybe religious doctrine, religious ideologies that are based upon maybe a system of belief rather than individual beliefs that are more sort of not quite as what's the word I'm looking for? That aren't quite so dogmatic. Would that be accurate? Or do you understand what
I think I see what you're getting at. And I'm sorry, I'm getting the echo now.
I don't know. Okay, let me
see now. Now I don't hear it. Now I don't get an echo. And can you hear me clearly, or?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just turned my mic off because I was thinking maybe you're hearing an echo from me. So I'm going to turn my mic off again.
No, okay. So then, no, there's definitely no echo now, and it was only an echo of my own voice. But no, what I would say is, again, and it's a tricky thing, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start making more and more videos about this. And probably my next video is just going to be titled, "No One Needs Religion." And here's why. And I would say, again, if it were just a personal belief thing, like, for example, you want to pray to God that you get a job, or, let's say you're focused on starting a business and every night you pray to God that everything goes well. Okay, in that case, prayer, even though you're basing it on false information, in a weird way, it does have a productive aspect to it because it's keeping you focused. Every time you pray, you're reminding yourself of your goal. And every time you remind yourself of a goal, now this goes beyond prayer, and I think this is probably a neurological thing, you're almost creating pathways, neurological pathways in your brain that are just reinforcing whatever your goal is. And you're reinforcing your desires and what you need to do for that. That's good. The problem comes into that, and I'm sorry that I keep getting stuck on the unplanned pregnancies, but that's the biggest effect I see, And then let's say it goes beyond that. My God, there was a really great documentary, which I think I sent you the link, on the history of Satan or something like that. And I think it was from the History Channel. And towards the end, they talked about one general. This was back for the Iraq War. And I could probably pull up the documentary if you want me to. A general, and I think if he wasn't a 5-star general, he was a 4-star general, that was basing his desires on going to war on religious beliefs, because he really did have it in his head. Yeah, you know what? So I don't talk out of my ass. I'm going to be pulling this up.
It's okay. I believe you.
Yeah. So that's scary, man. And it is scary. Well, I mean, George W. Bush was one of the classic examples of a president who was just inviting a little too much religion. I think Trump is doing the same thing, which, by the way, just 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you saw that about that one of his spiritual advisors. She's like she's a total con artist.
Oh yeah. I heard about that. Yeah.
You know, I could pull that one up just really quick.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I believe you. I believe you. Well, okay. All right. So let me give you my position. I think you sort of already know my position, but I kind of want to give it maybe for the chat so they can understand where I'm coming from. I believe in having a secular government. I think we should have a secular education system. I think we should have a secular government. I think that basically our society should be secular. However, I believe that people should have freedom to pursue and express and whatever they want to believe. However, if your beliefs and your prayers or your dogma or whatever begins to encroach on other people's freedoms, that's a problem. However, if you have an individual belief about, praying to a spaghetti god or whatever, and you're not hurting anybody or trying to get other people to worship that spaghetti god, I don't have any problem with it. That's my position. I think that promoting a secular society is the way to go. But however, I would like to, maybe be able to take a magic eraser and just sort of erase that portion of Islamic terrorism that's going on and those little Westboro Baptist Church, and kind of go around and edit various religions in the entire world. I'm not at that point. I don't have that ability. I don't think religion is going to go away. It's not going to, we're not going to wake up one morning and poof, all the religions are gone in the entire world.
Of course not.
I don't think that that's realistic. I also don't think it's realistic to believe that it's an evolutionary thing, meaning that we are evolving away from religion. I think that I think that premise is flawed. So we sort of have to kind of find this happy medium to work in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I'm not going to dedicate my life to this, but I will be dedicating a significant amount of videos to trying to see what is the best productive way of, and God, I know it might sound weird, but the easiest way to say it is how to talk people out of religion. How do you, convince people that what they are believing is false? It just is, and you're better off. Now, I get it. If there's one thing where I hear this constantly, and I agree with it, why people would need religion in terms of hope, in terms of purpose, like after the death of a loved one, that's where it gets tricky. From my personal experience, I think you're always still better off accepting reality for what it is. And as a matter of fact, if I would have grown up not being religious, I probably would not have taken my parents for granted the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a.
Sorry.
No.
I just wanted to comment on something you just said. How do you feel about street preachers? Do you think they're effective?
No. You're talking about the religious street preachers?
Yep. The ones that got a megaphone and a Bible, and they're standing.
I think they're probably about as effective as a dog whistle. And if what you're getting at is, am I going to become a video street preacher for atheism?
No. I am. That's exactly what I was getting at, because you mentioned that you want to spread the idea. You want to spread atheism. Basically, you kind of want to promote and get people to sort of, cure them of their religious ideology. And immediately what popped into my mind was like, you're sitting on a soapbox with your mask on, your hat, and you got like, you got evolution and Darwin and biology book and a megaphone. You're like,
no, I know.
Get away from those beliefs.
No, here's the difference. The difference, and I guess I obviously wouldn't be the first, because you've got, I guess I'd be in good company. There'd be Christopher Hitchens, there'd be Richard Dawkins, there'd be Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, Bill Maher. I mean, fucking atheism is unstoppable. There's plenty of people that are doing it. I think the difference, when people would ask me what's the difference between you and a street preacher, I would say, number one, I'm not threatening people. That's the number one thing. I am not promising that there is a threat. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important for, anyone who wants to expose the falsehoods of religion. I think that'd probably be a better term for it. Instead of spreading atheism, I would say it's more a matter of exposing the falsehoods and the dangerous falsehoods of religion. That's what it is. I guess the word atheism is the easiest single word that encapsulates what that is, Mm-hmm. But I would say it's that, you're trying to expose these things. And I think that's important. And I do the same when it comes to socialism and communism. I feel very compelled to expose the falsehoods behind that and make sure that society doesn't take a turn for the worse. And you're already seeing, and you see enough Christians that are basically doing that. There's enough Christians who are being virtual street preachers. I mean, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, they're like capitalist street video preachers, pretty much. And I think that one's very important. I think that's even more important than the religion. Because if I had to take my pick between living in a society of religious capitalists or atheist communists, I'll go with the religious capitalists. I'll go there. If it's a binary choice like that, I'd go with the religious capitalists. But there is that problem, and again, I don't know if that's being ginned up by Fox and by a lot of right-wing think tanks. But I have been seeing some of these datas or polls about how many millennials think that socialism is a good idea. But I think that those might be
that's a whole nother thing. Let's step away from that.
Okay.
let's see if we can just stay on the benefits of the negative and / benefits of religious belief, because I think that's where we kind of want to stay focused. Now, in your opinion, what are the benefits? What are the positive aspects of religion?
I would say the benefits are clearly, community, a sense of community, and without the delusional things, because the one benefit that I kind of had when I was younger about religion was that I kind of felt like it didn't matter how fucked up the world was, there was always going to be heaven. And it didn't matter that my parents were going to die, I was going to see them in heaven, which is why I took them for granted to a large degree. But aside from those positive things where I could see why it persists is, number one, the sense of community. Number two, it really helps people stay focused on whatever goals they have. That is one thing. And Tony Robbins, I think, is a classic example of that. Like listening to Tony Robbins every once in a while, because that guy's religious and he invokes God in his talks and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to believe that he really is a billionaire. I am assuming he is up there. And he would swear that it's because of God. I would say it's because his incredible focus that he's probably had. And plus, if I'm not mistaken, if he's not lying about his upbringing, he had a pretty hard life with his mother. He actually came from a single mother that went through a bunch of fathers and blah, 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 blah. And I think that builds character. When you get kicked out of your house by your own mother, and according to him, according to his stories, he got kicked out of his house by his mother, and she was wielding a knife. Not that she was going to stab him, but whatever. She was trying to scare the shit out of him. Wow. That builds character, dude. That puts a fire under your ass. But it's a problem when somebody thinks that that's God. You know what I mean? And then the ironic thing, if I'm not mistaken about Tony Robbins, I think he got a degree or a minor in psychology. Like he's big on the psychology thing, you know? So I'm surprised he doesn't see that, you know? But I would say those are the two big things, the two big benefits of religion: community and purpose.
Okay.
You know,
okay. Yeah. Okay. So community and purpose. Okay. I could see that.
You know, staying focused on your goals and stuff.
Yeah. Now I would kind of take a little bit, I'd probably expand on that. I would agree. I think that it does help to build community. I think it helps to become sort of a way for people to come together. But you know, you can do that around anything. You know, you can have a picnic or softball game and kind of bring people together. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily unique to religion, but I think it is an aspect of religion. I definitely agree with you there. Now, and then this is the important part that you had mentioned, is people can give it, like believe in it, like believe that no matter what, there's sort of a purpose to life, you know, or maybe it'll all work its way out in the end, you know, this sort of belief, and then the belief of an afterlife, you know, like if somebody is sick or is dying, you know, maybe they find comfort in believing that there's an afterlife, a heaven, or maybe they give that to the people around them so that the people around them can have solace, you know, and just being able to pray and maybe hope that you have some kind of an influence, or a deity has some kind of an influence in your life. So yeah, I think that those are definitely benefits of religion. But I think there's also kind of deeper aspects of people's beliefs that are beneficial to them. One of them is, you know, yeah, prayer and hope. Those things actually do psychologically help people to get through certain situations, to deal with the loss of loved ones, deal with situations. They've done studies on it. They've done studies on people who, you know, for whatever reason, they just believe that something is going to work out for them, and for some reason it just sort of helps them to get through certain situations. So there's actually a lot of very deep, beneficial reasons why people have religious beliefs, and that's kind of what I see as the benefits of religion.
And also, look, other ones that I forgot to mention is it causes people to be good, you know. So that's a good, even though there you have the delusion that you're being watched over, you know, because let's face it, most religious people that are good, it's because of a fear of God, not because of truly seeing the benefits of just being good for the sake of being good, and how that can come back to you, you know, how that can be a good thing. What would be another one? Well, I was about to say the rule of law, you know, like the 10 Commandments have basically manifested themselves into the rule of law as well. But I think that's also about, you know, being good. So, and yeah, I don't know. Those are the things. Now, why would you think that it's not harmful to? Because I know that you think the opposite of me. Like you're like, yeah, what's the harm if somebody wants to just believe and stuff like that? You don't see those effects, like the effects that I'm trying to talk about, and how they sort of reverberate throughout society.
Let's not mischaracterize my position.
Okay.
Okay, so I believe in a secular society. I think that when you get to government and politics and all of that, we need to maintain a secular society. And if you have a religious belief, but it doesn't interfere with you, if it doesn't harm you or anyone else, I don't see anything wrong with it. So that's my position. I think that if you have a religious belief that begins to interfere with someone else's life, I think that that's a problem. Or if it, like, let's say it's harmful to you, like let's say in your belief system or your religion, you have to go on these fasts for like 60 days or 90 days, which is obviously, going to tear your insides up, and it's going to be incredibly harmful. That's harmful to you. So that's where I draw the line, is when it begins to harm yourself or other people. I think that's when religion moves away from being a benefit to a society to now being a detriment to society.
Yeah, the only thing is that I think, even as personal as it may be, people who have, usually those deeply held religious beliefs, they almost always, it starts tying into a church. And once it ties into a church, usually churches at least once a year, or they usually come around to putting together petitions. They usually come around to trying to change laws that do end up affecting other people's choices.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another thing. Like, a lot of people, when talk about atheism and stuff like that, are like, well, why are you trying to tell people what to do? I'm like, no, quite the contrary. Number one, there isn't a law that I'm trying to pass that's going to restrict a religious person from doing anything. That, at least for me, at least the angle I'm coming from, because I am not about banning religion. I'm not about keeping people from going to churches or anything like that. Mine are just mainly suggestions. Whereas with religious people or religious influences, like when you hear the Ben Shapiro's, when you hear the Stephen Crowders, they're talking about laws now, especially when it comes to abortion. When it comes to, I think they might be softening up on the war on drugs, but there's a lot of things that they believe that do end up affecting policy that ends up restricting other people's rights.
Right. Yeah.
That's the problem.
I agree with you there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that I agree with you. I think abortion and education, I mean, yes, there's always some group that's always trying to, change some law about something. Then it can go pretty far down, then you can get to the people who want to outlaw vaccines because they believe that it's, causes autism or hyperactivity or whatever. And now that becomes a health issue, because now you have people who are refusing to vaccinate their children, and they're going to schools and they're infecting other people. And those can be religious-based beliefs. They can believe that, God made all these germs and everything, so it's okay. We don't need to be vaccinated. So, yeah, I agree with you. It can get very scary when they start passing laws. That's why I think we need to make, to have a secular society. But I guess I'm just a little bit confused, because you labeled yourself as an anti-theist atheist. So I'm just wondering, what is the difference between a run-of-the-mill atheist and an anti-theist atheist?
I guess, speaking for myself, an atheist is somebody, I would think that someone who just says they're an atheist, but they're not an anti-theist, is that an atheist is someone who's like, listen, I don't believe that there is a God, and fuck it, but I don't see the problems with the religion. For me, I do see the problems with the religion. I do think it's not enough to just convince people about reality and that, gods are fabricated, but the harmful effects of religious institutions, the harmful effects of the Pope when the Pope talks to millions of Catholics, the harmful effects of the Ayatollah Khamenei speaking to the Shia Muslims, and the harmful effects of the Wahhabi Sunnis, or whatever you call them, those clerics speaking to Muslims and calling them to jihad. Those effects, the effects of Hindu Brahmins and that caste system. That's, I guess it's like taking it a little step further. It's not just talking about and getting into those, philosophical arguments that people have. Like, I think the philosophical arguments almost become a moot point if you really look at the way life actually works. Like, I no longer that whole argument about, well, if there is a God, how can he allow suffering to happen, or how can he allow evil? You're looking at it from completely, forget the concept of God. Look at the way life works on a molecular basis. Between matter and energy, there's always some creation and destruction going on within our own bodies. And I think you've already heard me say this. You see the white blood cells and the red blood cells fighting against, cancer agents, whatever, and all that stuff. That's just constant. When you start to look at it that way, you start to see it's no wonder. And plus, you just look at almost every form of life, remove human beings from the equation of life, and just look at animals. Animals need to eat one another. It's inescapable. The way life works is that every form of life must consume another form of life. Even if you're a vegan, even if you're a plant, you got to consume photons, and forget plant life, forget all that. Look at fucking asteroids and suns and solar systems. It's just this constant ebb and flow of creation and destruction, one thing just consuming another. So when I look at it that way, it's no wonder that we have the wars and the genocides that we have. For me, looking at life that way, I almost understand the Fidel Castros and the dictators of the world. I get it.
All right. Well, let's get out of the solar system and the universe. Let's bring it back down to our little flat Earth here. So all right. So an anti-theist is somebody who takes it a step further. So you sort of want to kind of push and promote the elimination, or somehow maybe changing people's consciousness away from religion. Would that be an accurate surmise of it?
Yeah, pretty much. Have you been watching, what's this girl's name? The Scientology, the girl that's basically, she used to be on King of Queens. Right now her name's escaping me.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, but she left Scientology.
Yeah, she left Scientology. But what she's doing to the Scientology church and what she hopes to achieve, and I don't know if she'll be able to. I hope she will. I wonder if she could. Leah Remini, that's right. I wonder if she could actually make them implode. If she could render them obsolete within this lifetime. Now imagine that on a global scale. Imagine that to every single religion possible. I would love to see something like that.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Scientology from what I've heard of it, and again, these are all just rumors, speculation I've heard, but it sounds pretty much like a money making cult. That's what it sounds like to me. But again, I could be, I actually don't know that much about it. I mean, I know Scientology. I mean, it was basically just a joke, but for some reason, it actually became a religion. But it's just as valid as any other religion out there.
I'd be willing to say with certainty that it truly is what that is, because I actually know someone who grew up with that too, and this person attests to all that, and how their mother is broke now. She has no retirement.
So how would you promote trying to, I don't know if this word is too harsh, but eliminate or wipe out religion, or I guess religious genocide? How would you, well, let's call it what it is. It's wiping out religion, right?
Yeah, as far as I could try it from my little part, one YouTube video at a time I can't wait till I start doing. There's a series of drawings that I'm going to be doing pretty soon. I don't even want to give away what it is, but I can't wait to get started on them. But I want these to come out good. They got to come out good. The first one's going to be Satan, because I'm going to.
You were telling me about
that. Yeah, that's right. And I already let you know about that one. And I'm going to approach it that way, because Satan is the one common enemy. And that's the one he's the piñata that everybody loves to fucking pull the strings on and take a whack at. So I'm going to start with that one. And I think that's it. I think you got to approach it respectfully. And I'm learning this also with politics. I'm learning it on Twitter. I'm learning not to, like today, I made that mistake with that little Michael Moore Twitter. If it would have been Michael Moore, I wouldn't have minded it, because I think someone like Michael Moore, he really is instigating divide. That guy, and he's enriching himself by doing so. He is playing. I wouldn't say someone like him is evil, but there is something very wrong with Michael Moore. I've seen him shaking hands with Hugo Chavez, with Maduro. Actually, there's a picture of him doing that, and I'm including it in one of my next video. There's a problem with that, dude. And he can't be that stupid. I don't understand. I would love to sit down with someone like Michael Moore and be like, please enlighten me. What am I missing about Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro and what's going on right now in Venezuela? Mm-hmm. Please tell me what's wrong? How is capitalism at fault there? You know? And so anyway, sorry, bringing it back, I think that's where you got to be careful. You got to be careful with how you approach that, and you can't, fight fire with gasoline. And so I would never, and I've learned that with my own family and friends, never insult religious people, never use the word stupid.
Right.
Or try to, I wouldn't call the person stupid, but some of those ideas and that's where it becomes a fine line, at what point, how do you expose this without saying, maybe stupid's too harsh a word, but false. You got to draw the line somewhere. You got to call a spade,
All right. So I apologize, but I'm like a laser pointer whenever it comes to certain topics. I just like to stay focused. Okay, so eliminating, somehow removing religious ideas, religious thoughts, structures, whatever it is you want to get rid of. So you've kind of you've probably heard the concept of you cut one blade of grass and 10 blades of grass pop up, or the story of the Hydra, from Greek mythology. You cut off one head, and from that head, 3 more grow up. I mean, so I'm just wondering if you do this thing where you're trying to actually actively promote getting rid of religion, and showing people the error of their ways and how they shouldn't believe what they believe, they should actually believe, or they should get rid of those beliefs. And then the next generation comes up, but there's other people who have this belief. I don't know. To me, it just sounds so. It sounds so daunting. It sounds like kind of trying to eliminate something that is probably going to be, I don't think it's going to end. I mean, it's like YouTube, no offense, Nachi, but it's like YouTube atheists. It's like they pop on here and they believe they've discovered gold. It's like they say, is nobody else thought of this? This is atheism. You guys understand what this means? Come on, seriously. And they're like, they're getting in front of a camera and they're trying to scream it out to the world. And it's like, actually, no, they've had atheists since the 1st century. We've had atheists going back to Greek philosophy. It's nothing new. You know what I mean? So I just wonder, this is what I think. We're not going to get rid of religion. Period.
Oh, no, but you could almost demonstrably diminish its influence little by little.
Sure. Okay.
For sure. And I think that's why it's worth it. And in terms of atheists in the past versus the ones nowadays, hey, at least in this country, they're not being burned at the stake.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've been burned. They've probably been burned at the stake ever since the 5th century. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm sure maybe in Greece or Rome or other countries. I don't know if they put people to death for not believing in their gods. They might have, but I mean, that's probably actually nothing new either. That's probably something that's been happening since at least the 5th century in Europe. People have been killed.
Right. And believe me, I'm not so delusional and I'm not that much of an egomaniac to think that I would single-handedly, that's not at all. I don't even fantasize that. Right. And again, it's not I'm not quitting my day job over that. As a matter of fact, I'm looking for a new day job and it has nothing to do with atheism. My day job is fucking being a graphic artist, man. It's a hobby. Everybody's got their hobbies, and my real hobby, it really is art and writing. But what my art and my writing will be about, part of it will be that, you know, and it's something that's where I find the meaning. That's where I find the purpose, you know, or one of them, because obviously I find purpose and meaning just in my relationships, like with my wife and my family and friends and stuff like that. But I would say in terms of doing, you know, and I see it as a problem that needs to be solved. Clearly, man. I think I wouldn't say religion itself is at the core of the world's problems, but it's there, man. It's the coals under the fire of the problems of the world, you know?
Yeah. I would definitely agree with you about that. I just, for me, again, I just I approach it from there's certain aspects of religion I think are highly destructive. And then there's other aspects of religion that I think are benign at best, you know. And rather than trying to sort of, you know, chop off the leg to cure the cancer, I'd much rather attack the cancer, you know. And that's kind of how I look at it. I see a lot of the insane religious ideas that are detrimental and destructive to society being at the core of it. I mean, obviously Islam is one of them, because it's much easier to sort of, you know, edit out or change a Bible. And even so, that was really difficult to do, but to try and claim that maybe the Quran needs to be edited or changed or something that's like completely heretical to them. But it's something that is going to have to happen. They're going to have to change. They're going to have to change their core beliefs of, you know, the way that they interpret their Bible, because it's just insane. And I mean the same thing with Christianity. So there's a lot of aspects of religion that are negative that I think need to go away, but I don't think we're going to be able to wipe it all out. And I don't think you're going to do it single-handedly either. I don't think I'll do it single-handedly, but
no, but it's
good.
No, I was going to say it's still fun to try, you know. I still find it fun. And what's really cool, and maybe I shouldn't say that's really cool, there's already been enough religious people that I've known that I've managed to kind of convince that, you know, not that I've convinced them, I didn't even try to do that, but where they just don't go to church anymore. And that's a good first step. They don't waste their money and their time with it. And as a matter of fact, I know that these people would never hear this podcast, or maybe they would, who knows? So that's why I want to be careful with what I say. But there's someone that I know that was who's probably still religious, but right now this person is clearly going through a problem. And it is a friend of a friend. Let's leave it at that. And I remember one time this person who is very religious, you know, we were on vacation together, and since he knew that I was atheist, he was like, "Oh, great! Like, I guess he saw me as like a pet project." He was like trying to talk to me about Jesus and God. And we had a really long drive back home, and I knew that if I just start talking about the history of religion, and you know, it's not even like I was trying to chip away. It's just everything that he was throwing my way, and he was like, "But don't you feel the this and that?" And I'm like, "No, those are usually coincidences." And da 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 da. I got to what seemed to really make an aha moment in his head, but for a bad thing, was the Council of Nicaea. And when I started talking to him about why Christianity became what it became, and why it didn't die out the way the Egyptian mythology did, or the way Greek mythology, or even Roman mythology did, and it was because of the Emperor Constantine and how he gathered together the bishops, how the Holy Spirit was supposedly made up on the spot.
Right.
And I'll never forget, this guy's face kind of started it was like a light that was either going out or going on, however you want to look at it. But there was a vision, something was clicking in his head. Like he was like, "Holy shit, I never knew it. I never thought of it that way." And I'll never forget that at the end, the guy was like, "You know what? I just have to believe." And I was like, "This, you know, whatever, you know, you do it." And we didn't argue. I was like, "Yeah, hey man, you know, nobody becomes an atheist overnight. You know, that happened to me, blah, 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 blah." Just a couple weeks ago, someone received a letter from this person's spouse that was saying how this person is now having a hard time going to church, and they don't see the point in religion anymore. And like, I'm not trying to say, ha, score one for me, because I'm really hoping that this doesn't affect his marriage either, because apparently this person's wife is, it's usually the women that hold on to it more than the men. I hope it doesn't affect them that way. But apparently it gets to them, and I've already seen this also with other.
Ruin this man's life. His wife's going to leave him. He's going to lose his job. He's going to be living on the street. It's all because of you, Nachi.
And it's happened with a couple of other people. I know that my closest friends, even though I know they never liked going to church, but a couple of my closest friends, it's helped, the fact that they don't go to church as often anymore, the conversations we have, but they still hold on to it, and it's fine, man. It's not like I'm trying to. That's the other thing. Like, the other difference between me and a street preacher, I'm not trying to start a religion. I'm not trying to gather paying members. Because most of those street preachers, though, there's ambitious ones. I mean,
I think you need to listen to that sentence again. Repeat it to yourself.
Okay, I'm not trying to gather okay. You're talking about Patreon. You're talking about subscribers.
No. I'm talking about, you earlier admitted that you're sort of an anti-theist. You actually want to promote people to move away from religion. And now you're saying you're a street preacher and you're not trying to convince them to become part of a religion. You see?
No, because here's No, I don't see the contradiction, and I'll explain to you why.
Not a contradiction. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not trying to gather people together every second Wednesday of the month under a full moon, or for that matter, even once a week. Now, someone may say, yeah, but you're trying to get people to watch your videos. There's nothing mandatory about that. There's no guilt tied to it.
All right,
There's no promise of eternal damnation. You know what I mean?
I sort of strawmanned your position. So let me.
No, that's good.
What I meant was that your desire to sort of spread people, like you were talking with your friend in the car, and you're telling him about the Council of Nicaea and a little bit of the history of Christianity and how it sort of came about, and that's kind of how you want to push, little nuggets of information on the people about how, give them little sources of truth so that they sort of come away from their religious upbringing or their religious belief. In my eyes, is sort of similar to a preacher, in a sense of, instead of trying to get people to come to religion, you're actually trying to get people to go away from religion. But in my opinion, it really sounds very similar to me. It sounds pretty much like the same thing. One is leading somebody to a religion. One is leading people away from a religion. You see my point?
Oh, no, I definitely see the point. The difference is, in a sense, okay, let me just say it. In a sense, I'm trying to help people free themselves from something that is holding them back. You know what I mean? And now, granted, there's really, on an immediate personal level, there's nothing in it for me. You know what I mean? There's nothing in it for me for this guy to stop going to church. There's nothing in it for me that this guy is going to probably save about maybe $50 to $100 a month in donations to an institution. You know what I mean? There's nothing, and I'm not asking him to, instead of give it to the church, give it to me or buy one of my shirts either. That's not the thing. Now, what I would like to see it in it for me is eventually, now this is maybe where I am being delusional, because I think that without religion and with a much more secular society and a much more, less religion in society, you have a much more productive society. You have more intelligent, and I'm sorry to have to say it that way, but fuck it. You have more intelligent people. You have people making more intelligent choices. Let's put it that way. And I see it within where my wife's from, in Western Europe, the country that she is from Western Europe. It is very secular, and the lifestyle is very different. The crime rates are very different. The way kids grow up is very different. as opposed to here in the United States, and especially as opposed to here in Miami. Yeah, that's another crazy thing. How many people I've known that are pretty much, or at least when I was younger, that they were like criminals, arch criminals, okay? Guys that would mug people on the streets, guys that going to jail, it wasn't a problem for them. And what did they have tattooed on their arm? Jesus. Or what did they have hanging off their neck? A big old gold cross that they would pawn, by the way, from time to time. They would go to the pawn shop.
And yeah, but I have a feeling they weren't a regular at the Sunday Mass.
But they had
until they went to jail.
Right? No, but that's the weird thing. They would believe that they had like almost God's blessing to do that.
Yeah,
and I've literally heard that. I've heard that from them.
Now, as for intelligence and religion, the countries in the world that are dominating right now are all Christian based.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, and there's good aspects. I hear Ben Shapiro talk about that. It's interesting. I really like Ben Shapiro as a commentator when it comes to politics and stuff like that. I think he really gets into the weed of policies, and he really talks about how the sausage is made, and that's why I like him. But when it comes to religion, the guy obviously loses me. But one thing I am noticing about Ben Shapiro, despite the fact that he's Jewish to the point where he, publicly wears the yarmulke and stuff like that, he really seems to pander to Christians. And I think it's because he knows that there's a pretty big audience there, a pretty big paying base for that. And he brings that up a lot. He's like, it's funny to see atheists, criticizing things that are based on the Judeo-Christian principles. Yeah, so what? I mean, great, the rule of law, the fact that we don't murder. Look, I'll even be willing to say that, yeah, we don't murder thanks to the 10 Commandments, which I don't think is true. But
yeah, no, that's
I'll give you the murder, like the fact that we don't murder, the fact that we don't steal, or that, that's. It does not mean that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just pointing out you talked about intelligence, and so I was pointing out that the civilizations that we have today are they started out as Christian nations, and they led the scientific revolution. So I was just pointing out that I don't think that I didn't agree with your statement about intelligence. I think the people who are religious are just as intelligent as other people. It's just that they hold a belief and the other person doesn't hold a belief.
Oh no, yeah. And if I said that, if by any chance I said that they were stupid, no, I definitely didn't mean that.
Well, yeah, I was paraphrasing. So,
how do you call it? I just think that there's a lot of unintelligent choices that are made because of religious ideas, and that was the point of my last live stream, was that, like, intelligent people like Ben Shapiro, for lack of a better word, I call it a psychological blind spot, whatever it is. There is clearly some sort of denial. And somebody else was telling me about, there was a test, and I've heard this already from quite a few different people, a test that was done to see if there was any psychological or even neurological differences between liberals and conservatives. And if there's one thing that they did find that conservatives have, is that conservatives tend to have more fear, or there were certain things that they feared, like whatever triggered a fear in them, they would focus on that more. So the test, it was led to believe that conservatives apparently have a stronger sense of fear. They also probably have a slightly stronger sense of disgust, which in my opinion, disgust is a form of fear. And I wonder if that's what it is, that psychological blind spot or that denial. And I think we saw it within Ernest, and I was, trying to say it with all due respect when he was almost unwittingly proving that. I think that that's what happens with the religious people. I think religious people have a certain fear of, I don't know if it's of death, I don't know if it's of what, but they clearly have more of a fear than most liberals do. Liberals, that's why I think in the very classic sense of the term, it's about being open And in order to be open, you have to be a little fearless, you know.
Mhm.
And then that's why I also think there's a very big difference between the liberals and regressives. I think regressives, and particularly those that are communists and stuff like that, are trying to preach those. I think they also are exhibiting that same fear that the conservatives are how do you call it, exhibiting, which is why I think that those things like those social justice movements almost operate like religions. And to a large degree, some of them have become cults. I mean, I think it was shown that by any means necessary, that BAM with that woman,
Yvette, Yvette Labarca.
Yvette Falarca.
Yvette Labarca.
That was proven. It was almost proven to be a cult, or at least it operated like a cult.
Yeah, I think she's getting sued.
Yeah, where they were, and of course they were preying on college students. You know, they were preying on people who were very naive, and yeah, and then one of the first things.
A cult doesn't necessarily have to be religious. I mean,
No,
most
it doesn't.
cults are religious, but a cult doesn't necessarily have to be religious. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yvette Falarca, whatever her name is. But yeah, she's getting sued by a professor that she put a false restraining order against him, and she was just basically abusing the system, and so she's getting sued for that.
Huh.
She was just making up false allegations and issued a restraining order against this guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed that she hasn't. I don't know. I don't really follow her that much. That's the other tricky thing about these things. Like, as much as I wonder if I also have that sense of disgust with people like Yvette Falarca. Like, for all my talk of, you know, the dangers that these organizations are and stuff, I find her to be so repulsive that there's only so much I could read about her, and I need to learn to turn that off. Because if you really want to defeat this, you have to look at who these people are. You have to do a little bit of digging. You have to look at pictures of their face. You have to, you know, and I do get a very visceral reaction when I see people like her, when I see the founding members of Black Lives Matter, when I see most of these Antifa kids. Yeah, there's a very visceral reaction where I myself, you know, get, you know, feelings of violence and stuff like that. And,
well, it's even in their name, you know, by any means necessary. So it's like they're willing to do anything to further what they believe is their righteous cause, you know. And that's the thing, is that, you know, speaking of blind spots, there's so many people out there who have these blind spots. They don't see, they're so wrapped up in what they believe is the right. You know, like they know what is right for everyone else, and they're trying to convince everyone else that what they're doing is right. And so they completely justify it, and it's, you know, in some ways it's parallel to some of the, like you said, the religion, and it's parallel to some preachers who believe that, you know, it's whatever they do, it justifies it in the end because they're going to get, you know, more converts or whatever. So, but anyhow, I'm starting to lose concentration here. I think I started it at 6. I think I'm going to start to wrap it up. But it was fun talking with you, Nachi. I'm so glad I was able to get you in here.
No, thanks for having me on, man, and thanks for jogging my or challenging all these things. It is important to have these ideas challenged and stuff like that. And I like it. You know, there's not many people I can talk about these things with. You know.
Yeah. I enjoy talking about these things too. And I'm just going to say, like, the very first time I heard anti-theist, I had a very visceral response to it. It was very negative. I was like, ew, I really don't like that. And I think that it's a really, and I'm not really just talking to you, I'm really talking to anybody who uses it. I think it's a really bad label to use because I think it's going to immediately draw ear from people. It's going to draw, people are just going to be angry with it because it sounds like you want to wipe out religion. And I think I think, you know, maybe not use that as your opening line when you're trying to go out and convert people to atheism. You know, maybe use it as like maybe a second meeting word.
Because it's funny. Go ahead. No, I was going to say the first time I heard it was from Christopher Hitchens, and immediately I got it. I was like, and it felt to me like a missing piece of a puzzle. You know, I was like, yeah, I totally get that. Yes, and I think, and then ironically enough, someone like Christopher Hitchens, he had a soft spot for Che Guevara. Like those are the things that I do find interesting about all these issues. Like, I think ultimately, I don't want to say that there's one way to live life. Of course not. But for example, obviously no one should murder. I think most sensible people agree murder is not good. Neither is rape, neither is child molestation. Now let's start taking it down to certain systems. Clearly, a free market economy is better than a centrally planned communist one. Okay, and then we start going into government. We've discovered secular democratic republics, because it's really what it is. Technically, it's, you know, the United States is not strictly a democracy. I think it's a constitutional democratic republic, but it's secular to top it off. That is clearly superior to autocracies, let alone theocracies and stuff. And I think as you start going down, I think there's certain things that we as a species have been discovering, you know, like, okay, this works, that doesn't work. This works, that doesn't work. And it's a matter of getting there. And it's interesting how it's hard to pin it all down, and how some people, there's few people that seem to get it right on almost all fronts. One of them, in my opinion, of public speakers and stuff like that, is Sam Harris. I think he's one of those few people that, it's not because I agree with the guy on everything. It's just, with the exception of his Trump hysteria, you know, I think he was a little too hysterical about Trump. That was about the only thing I ever have heard him talk about where I was like, I think he might be off. Everything else, he seems like he agrees. Look, when it comes to guns, he agrees, dude, there's nothing wrong with owning guns. And yet he's pro-choice as well. And he's pro-youth. Like, now the other thing I would disagree with him on is on the death penalty. I think, unfortunately, we do need the death penalty. You know, but anyway, whatever. I'm rambling. So
yeah, no, I agree with many of those points. But yeah, no, definitely we should definitely do this again, because I think that there's definitely more to unpack here, you know. And I find those conversations really fun too. And it's also nice to be able to talk to somebody about this particular topic and keep it civil. You know what I mean? Because you and I, we have a history, but sometimes you put, like, you know, two people into a hangout talking about, you know, beliefs and stuff like that. And, you know, it turns into a blood sport, you know, as Andy Worski would call it. And I'll tell you, I mean, I enjoy watching those, but it's kind of like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it is.
You know, because I'm not really into that drama, but it is kind of fun to watch it.
No, true. No, thanks again for having me on, man. And the only thing I would ask is if you could just be patient with me. If you see that I don't answer emails and stuff, it's usually because I just haven't checked. That's
yeah.
So if you ever send it out,
again. No worries. Yeah, no worries. I just, I mean, I was gonna have this hangout no matter what. So
yeah, no, because I know you do them every Saturday. So. And I try to tune in. It's just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't been having it every Saturday. This is like, I had one on my birthday on the 13th, and this one today. So you know, I'm having them on and off, but I'm going to start to try to have them on a regular basis. So, so yeah. And also, you gotta let me know how that devil picture comes along, or devil video. I want to see that.
Oh no, for sure, man. I'll probably be consulting you before I finish it, you know, because I really want to get down to the history of Satan. That's what the video is really going to be, exposing the history of how Satan came about. And it's already been done, like with that documentary that I've seen. I've seen a couple of documentaries on it, but yeah.
Well, that documentary, I mean, there was stuff that I learned from that documentary. So, I mean, I'm not an expert on the devil. I just have a devil icon. But if you ever want to know anything about the occult, I feel much more comfortable talking about the occult as a blanket, you know?
No, but that video that you did on Lucifer, I remember that one that you did on Lucifer and stuff. I thought that was really informative. That one was really cool. So I would definitely be referring to that, and so that was pretty eye-opening to me. So
cool.
So yeah, man. No, thanks again, dude. And yeah, I gotta kind of have to jump off. Also, I promised my wife I would at least catch the tail end of Wonder Woman. So
yeah, no worries, no worries. All right, Nachi. Again, take care, and everybody in the chat, please go and check out Nachi's channel. He's got some great content. So.
All right, thank you. Thanks
a lot, man.
Thank you to everybody who may be even thinking of subbing. I really appreciate that. Thanks again, man.
All right, good night.
We'll talk, brother. Hey, man.